Zhuo Fan's demonic soul just revealed a third variation, and the decimating golden flame is about to clash with the chaos flame of creation. The 5 great sacred beasts are watching, and everyone else is trying not to get burned alive. Leave a like and subscribe to see which flame consumes the valley first. He's changing again. Everyone was becoming stone statues with how often they got stunned by Zhuo Fan's skills. First, the mere fact there were 2 variations of the same soul was incomprehensible, and now they found out there was a third one as well. All around was nothing but gasping and slacked jaws. Just what on earth is this kid's cultivation method and path to end up with 3 variations? They had no way of knowing Zhuo Fan's demon transformation art contained everything in existence. The azure flame was a true mediator between yin and yang, holding every aspect of everything in this world. It fits everything to perfection, not causing a single conflict. So to say Zhuo Fan had 3 variations was a gross understatement. He could go for hundreds if he wanted to. As for Yilin, who received a dragon ancestor's inheritance, his soul's path ended at decimating Golden Heaven Dragon King. Anything deviating from it was impossible. Wen Tao's soul was the gentle sword, overcoming strength with softness. If he changed his sword soul into a greatsword, it just did not fit his path, thus impossible to achieve it. It was because Zhuo Fan's cultivation method conformed to all paths, coming from the 9 Serenities Emperor himself. He focused all his knowledge on making it, allowing him to go on without having disharmony among the wide array of skills he got from all those experts. It was also why he failed to grasp a deeper understanding of Tao. It was just like he concluded. While Yilin and the others were plumbing the depths of Tao, he was taking in all its broadness. This fight was no different. No one knew better about being a sacred beast inheritor than Yilin. The almighty Scarlet Dragon King, a sacred beast inheritance variant, was not inferior to decimating Golden Heaven Dragon King at all. It was just that Zhuo Fan's knowledge of Killen's power was lacking and could not showcase its true might. While on the opposite side, Zhuo Fan could use the shifts in the soul to compensate for his shortcomings. For this particular instance, he needed something to curb the brutality of that raging fire, and who better than the vaulting Dragon King in harmony with all things? Roar. The Azure Dragon showed no fear beneath the hail of thousands of burning scales. It even charged on excitedly. The eyes of the audience widened, and their hearts skipped with worry that the Azure Dragon would meet the same fate as the other 2. But then they watched in shock as the scales went right into the Azure Dragon. They exploded, and then the golden flames released a golden flash covered in azure flames to soothe its savagery, turning it into azure flames at the end. The people went crazy when the savage scales entered the Azure Dragon, to see them turned into Azure Dragon's power, whose flames were burning stronger now. The Azure Dragon roared to mock the Golden Dragon as it kept charging. "Is this vaulting Kunpeng's chaos flame?" Yilin cried out in shock. Master said that of the 5 great sacred beasts who harnessed primal chaos power, only 2 wielded divine flames. One was he, decimating dragon ancestor, wielder of a fierce flame, the decimating golden flame that can destroy everything, and the other was the head of the 5 great sacred beasts, vaulting Kunpeng, wielder of the gentle flame, chaos flame of creation. The flames also earned them their titles. The fierce flame destroyed and the gentle flame created. The 5 great sacred beasts can bring heaven down, and the gentle flame can hold it up. One can say they are yin and yang, engendering and clashing with each other. The only thing that can soothe the brutality of the strongest fierce flame can only be the strongest gentle flame. I just can't believe it's on him. Does vaulting Kunpeng have his back? Then whose disciple is he, Killen's or Kunpeng's? Yilin found Zhuo Fan as one huge enigma, impossible to unravel. He didn't know which sacred beast's inheritance he got. Zhuo Fan hardly ever displayed the azure flame to anyone. Then there was the mighty Killen arm he relied on the most that got Yilin to side with him, being a Killen disciple. As for the purple lightning, it had to be because he got drowned in it in that canyon. It didn't count. Why else would his use of it look so clumsy? So after careful analysis, he was certain that Zhuo Fan was a Killen disciple, wasting a power he was unfamiliar with. Glossing over the melee battle, there was no way he could be defeated in a soul battle. Now he found out that all of this was wrong. Zhuo Fan finally revealed the power that could contain his own. The Chaos Flame changed the Heaven Dragon Soul into vaulting Dragon King in complete opposition to his decimating Golden Heaven Dragon King. If you only consider the power's character, yes, but once you add them to a dragon soul. Yilin's eyes flashed, and he no longer sat still as before. Having discovered Zhuo Fan's nature, he ordered his Golden Dragon to charge at the Azure Dragon for an attack. Humph, the Azure Flame and the Golden Flame are against one another, but when it comes to dragon souls, strongest and hardest is the way to go. You really think that you can overcome my fierce flame's strength by using that gentle flame on the dragon's soul? Yilin glared at Zhuo Fan and roared. Grinning, Zhuo Fan knew from the start where he stood and had never had any certainty he would win. Now though he sneered, having found all he wanted to know, this proved that Zhuo Fan's tactic worked. The punk is anxious, all that's left is to go all out. Showing a creepy smile, Zhuo Fan taunted, haven't you heard of overcoming hardness with softness? Are you sure your fierce flame golden dragon can beat my gentle flame azure dragon? Without a doubt, Yilin raised his head as he declared, a dragon is tough and strong. No matter how opposing are our two flames, when it comes down to it, my golden dragon will trump yours. Yilin made a sign, and the golden dragon roared as his body exploded in golden flames. In a blink, it was on the azure dragon, bearing its claws. Bam! The golden dragon claw struck the azure dragon's spine. The berserk golden flame charged into the azure flame, burning the azure dragon's back. Yet the azure flame quickly shifted and wrapped around the golden flame, swallowing in a blink of an eye. That did nothing to stop the mighty and hard claw from making the azure dragon's spine creak and cry out. Zhuo Fan's brow hardened as he felt a stab of pain in his mind. He chose to clench his teeth and bear it. Seeing his moment was here, his eyes flashed and sent the azure dragon to claw the golden dragon now that it was wide open. Yilin mocked, useless, the azure dragon with the gentle flame is good for defense, not attack. This claw won't harm my dragon at all. I don't think so. Zhuo Fan grinned, his eyes glinting evilly. A flash of red appeared on the dragon's soul. Yilin expected it as he sneered, I knew you would change back to almighty Scarlet Dragon King. Only the Scarlet Dragon can really attack among all your variations. Well, too bad he only has strength. In a soul battle, power is the last resort. At most, it will only push my dragon back and not harm it. When did I say I had only 3? Cutting him off, Zhuo Fan's evil grin was on full display. A rumble echoed in everyone's ears, a prelude to the shocking scene that came. The decimating golden heaven dragon king's belly was run through by a dragon claw, throwing spiritual energy everywhere. Yilin shook and his eyes bugged out in shock. Blood flowed from his mouth and dripped onto the ground, but it still couldn't lift the confusion in his eyes. How is this possible? Logically, those 3 dragons can't harm my dragon. Yilin's brow shook. He turned his stiff head around to see the golden dragon with a huge body, unlike any of the 3 variants he had seen before. It was covered in purple lightning. The crackle of thunder rumbled each time it streaked its body. Its sharp claw flickered purple as it came out of the golden dragon's other side. That's heaven-crushing Phoenix's berserk purple lightning. Yilin's eyes shook, recalling having seen the purple lightning on Zhuo Fan. Since he got 3 types of dragon souls, what stopped him from having one with purple lightning as well? But he got careless when he was focused on dealing with the azure flame. Zhuo Fan could read him like a book and sighed, finally. Nailed you. What do you mean? Yilin wore a mask of confusion. Zhuo Fan chuckled, in no hurry to reply. He pointed at the purple dragon and took his time. Dragon soul variant, heaven-crushing dragon king. It's the only one that can do some damage to you. So before I could use it, I had to make you forget it ever existed. Yilin shook as it dawned on him. The blood leaked from his mouth, bloodening his shocked face. You're telling me everything so far has been to lead me into this trap? Wu Qinkyu was also shocked. Damn it, he's been duped. Senior brother, what did you say? A disciple asked, confused. Wu Qinkyu frowned and pondered before sighing. I'm not too clear either, but from what I see of the last strike, I have a vague feeling Zhuo Fan had been stringing junior brother along. The disciples were startled. Wu Qinkyu continued, look at Zhuo Fan's 4 dragon souls. Neither of them can stand up to junior brother. But in the end, his dragon soul ended up heavily wounded. Don't you find it odd? It's been obvious so far that Zhuo Fan had been on the ropes all along. Yeah, did that punk blindside him? One shouted. Wu Qinkyu sighed. Even if he did, he needed perfect timing. This timing was either when the opponent was the most careless or if he created it himself. Zhuo Fan likely chose the latter. How can you be sure, based on Zhuo Fan's purple dragon's claw attack? He grasped it perfectly to turn the fight around. I find it hard to believe a true expert like junior brother would be so careless as to give his opponent such an opening to exploit. That is why he was made to play along with the others' tunes. Wu Qinkyu frowned, but when exactly did all of this start? I just can't see it. There were so many people just as shocked as he was. Zhuo Fan flipped the table a bit too fast, even by their standards. He had been stomped at every turn till now, however, a few crafty old foxes around saw through it. So young, but not just strong, but also cunning. Even we were duped by his act and thought he couldn't win. Exalted Hai Ran held his beard and glanced at Bai Mei. Old timer, see that? Yeah, 4 dragon souls paving the way to success. Exalted Bai Mei nodded, his eyes flashing. The scarlet dragon was first taken out to test the golden dragon's power. The The second variant was to lower the Golden Flame's threat and lay the groundwork for the coup de grace. The third variant was bait. The Azure Dragon was in direct opposition to the Golden Dragon King, and since it was weak in direct battle, it was the perfect cover to get him close. And to attack the Azure Flame and wound his opponent, the Golden Dragon used all its Golden Flame to strike the Azure Dragon's flames within it, but it also left itself wide open for an attack. Exalted High Ran finished. Exalted by Mei nodded. All of this had been prepared in advance. Yilin revealed an opening in the end because Zhuo Fan's three variants left a huge impression on him, causing him to lower his guard. The Demonic Dragon and Azure Dragon had weak attacks, with only the Scarlet Dragon strong but not explosive enough. It was the only one that could have attacked him, but who would have thought the real killer move was yet to come. I don't find this purple dragon impressive at all, but the purple lightning is savagely brutal, just like the Golden Flame. But Zhuo Fan had yet to train it to its peak, or at least stand up to the Golden Flame. Yilin just had to leave a bit of Golden Flame around his body, and the purple dragon would have failed. However, hadn't Zhuo Fan done everything to get him to lower the Golden Flame guard? Exalted High Ran sighed, especially that Azure Dragon. Its defense is the best, but it had no power to attack. It's like a 3-year-old fiddling with a golden bauble surrounded by 2 bodyguards with 1 arm and 1 leg. Any self-respecting thug wouldn't be caught dead missing such an obvious, easy target. He'd go as far as ignoring the crippled bodyguards as he went for that bauble with a blade out. By Mei's side, old-timer, that's a bit crude. Being confident of victory, Yilin fell for Zhuo Fan's trap. If he had been cool-headed, the victory might have been his. A shame. What? The world doesn't lack people yearning for a win. If you were to see your adversary removing your advantages one step at a time, wouldn't you go for the kill when you find the best chance show itself? Exalted High Ran raised an eyebrow. Exalted by Mei chuckled. It's all due to that weird kid Zhuo Fan's twisted mind. Yilin is stronger than him but fails in terms of mentality. This battle was like a spider biting at its prey until it fell over. You can't guard against something like that. Exalted High Ran gave an understanding nod. The kid has his path and heart. His future's going to be bright. The western lands are going to change. In the little valley, Danking Shen watched the fight clearly and nodded. Ha ha ha, I bet those 2 coots could tell how the soul battle would turn, yet they never would have thought this outcome had been set up ever since the melee. Did you really think I couldn't beat you in melee? Zhuo Fan looked at Yilin with a smug look. Yilin glared at Zhuo Fan, his heart in shock. You're telling me the whole thing was staged? Zhuo Fan shrugged. Fine, I guess I lost the melee. I can't beat you there. Yilin's face twitched as he glared. Are you toying with me? However, while I had been prepared to lose in that aspect, that didn't mean I liked it. Zhuo Fan squinted and showed a crafty look. An ever-winning general isn't always victorious because he never lost, but because he turns defeat into victory. You're the dragon ancestor's disciple, a sacred beast priding itself on its strong body. Since you're his disciple, your body can't be any weaker. You got its entire inheritance, while I only got bits and pieces from a killin. It was obvious melee was lost to me. Though the loss had its perks, sacred beasts are hugely arrogant and you're not far off either. You had let the melee win get to your head, thus giving me the advantage. Moreover, when you beat me in melee, you already thought you had crushed my strongest form and were sure of victory. This led to being careless in the soul battle, my second advantage. As for the third, when you used the Golden Flame in melee, it gave me time to analyze it and set the best way to fight you in soul. Yilin shook, staring at Zhuo Fan's evil grin in complete stupefaction. He never thought Zhuo Fan would be so invested in this fight that he took everything into account. His master never taught him that. Master only said that the winner lorded over the loser and that power was everything. What could possibly be more important in a fight than one's strength? Reality showed his master was just a wild beast. Their fights were crude and simple, while humans used their brains. He was so strong that no one could have played him. Adding to that, he had never met someone as crafty as this prick among the simple people of the Ultimate Clarity sect. That was how he ended up like this. Now that he met Zhuo Fan, lording over him with power, but not in brains as well, being duped all the way. He only realized it when he fell for it. So a simple fight has so many aspects when humans are involved. The human world is so complicated. Later, you still held me in contempt when you were stronger than me, to the point you went easy. Why? Because you overlooked my purple lightning. Zhuo Fan continued. While it's still fairly weak, it's not useless either. As the 3 dragon souls were laid to bear and you defeated them one by one, stroking your ego and startling you, the sudden mood changes made you forget my purple lightning. Making you rush was part of the plan, like insurance, in case you were paranoid to the extreme and this attack of mine went bust since I stood no chance against you in a prolonged battle. But now, ha ha ha. Didn't I tell you, punk, that you're too self-righteous? Zhuo Fan made a sign, and the purple dragon flicked its claw, pulling it out of the golden dragon's body before letting purple lightning flash and sink into its chest again. Yilin cried out. His soul was already damaged. If this one hit, he would be a goner. So he had the golden flame cover its body and defend against the purple lightning attack. The purple lightning struck the flames but fizzled out. This showed Zhuo Fan's purple lightning wasn't up to par. Yilin felt like crying. He shouldn't have been so eager to win and let himself suffer for it. Even if he had Zhuo Fan beaten to pulp, he still couldn't hurt him with 4 rubbish dragons. But now that same rubbish did him in. The golden dragon was wrapped in golden flames, so the purple dragon turned into the demonic one and bit down to suck the flames right out of it. When the golden dragon shot its scales in defense, the other just turned into an azure dragon to cancel the attack. Then it changed into a scarlet dragon as it flicked its tail and sent the golden dragon flying. This wouldn't have hurt, but since he was so heavily wounded, it added insult to the injury. The scarlet dragon aimed for its wound as it clawed at him. Even if its claws didn't harm the golden dragon, the heavy impact went deep into the wound and made the whole affair highly unsettling. Yilin had to spit blood every time because of it. The pain in his head got so bad he felt it would explode. 4 rubbish dragon souls were ganging up on a perfect heaven dragon soul. The decimating dragon ancestor would have exploded in anger if he saw this. Bang, those were the sounds of dragon souls clashing, though they weren't that intense, just a one-sided beating. Decimating Golden Heaven Dragon King was fatally wounded, leaving it at a severe disadvantage. The attacks of the Scarlet Dragon were shrugged off before. The other dragons couldn't do much against it. Even the most brutal purple dragon couldn't break its golden flame defense. To sum it up, no matter which of these 4 dragon souls attacked, none could threaten the golden dragon. However, after the purple dragon's sneak attack, it left a huge opening in its defenses. To the point the scarlet dragon's attacks passed through and could deal some damage. The 4 dragon souls thus kept switching, the azure and demonic ones, for defense against the golden flames to put him in a position where any attack was useless. So when he stopped attacking, the scarlet dragon joined the fray, slamming into its wound. If he wanted to fight back again, the azure and black dragons would only be waiting for him. The strong azure flame could completely contain the brutality of the golden flames. Even if he went all out, it would only give the azure dragon a slight wound, then it would turn into the purple dragon and send those savage purple lightning strikes when it was most vulnerable. This way, the golden dragon was stuck in a passive position. It was like how a big guy was having his arms and legs tied up and letting a bunch of brats try to beat him. Oh, but one of them was carrying a blade. He'd shiver every time he watched the blade approach, dodging as much as possible but never attacking since there was a risk the blade would take his life. The purple lightning was the weakest of Zhuo Fan's powers, making the purple dragon the weakest of his 4 dragons. But the threat remained regardless, to the point that the golden dragon feared another sneak attack and did not fight back. This way, he could only let Zhuo Fan's 4 dragon souls rain claws and fangs on it as it was beaten repeatedly. The audience was gaping at the sudden turn of events. How come the mighty golden dragon tuned up to be like a scaredy cat? The people were excited, feeling life was a play because of how the positions could change so fast. The girls were even more shocked, buzzing about and pointing. Sister King Cheng, what just happened? I don't get it. How did he get the upper hand? Chu King Cheng needed a few times to recover. She shook her head and gave a bright smile. I always thought I understood him, but I was wrong. I never thought that he'd win by using his weakness. Shui Ruohua's brow shook as she looked at Zhuo Fan in shock, a true and capable man. Who would dare to even consider looking for victory among its faults? Humph, for Yilin to be defeated when he was at the top of his game, he must be a moron. Xuan Sheu spat in hatred. Sword God Sek saw the big turn around and looked on in shock. When Tao held his head, Tiansheng, your brother has opened my eyes. I always thought it was strength that made him a freak, but now I see what it means to be ever victorious. It's all about the mind. This is not a win gained through power since those 4 dragon souls couldn't beat the golden dragon. Yet look at the golden dragon now, being beaten black and blue. Heavens, just how did he come up with such a strategy? Ha ha ha, what's so hard to believe? Haven't I been saying that he comes from a lowly 3rd-rate clan all this time? Yet in just 10 years he got it to rule the empire. It's not just guts alone. He's been in constant danger as he schemed with the other sides. One wrong move and it would be the end. He had dealt with many old foxes on his way too. Zai Tiansheng smiled. Senior brother, you should know how cruel the vie for power in a kingdom is. It's not as simple as the competitions between sects. He also got the three greatest minds under him as well. This proves his mind is unlike anyone else's. Yilin might be an amazing genius that is stronger than him, but when it comes to schemes, no sex young master can defend against him. Wen Tao eyed him and then turned to look at Zhuo Fan. This was a big ploy all along. However, regardless of what it is, people would always lean on what they are best good at. I just can't believe he didn't scheme to win in melee and waited for when their souls were out. Such courage earned my respect. Who could have such confidence in him? The lone breach, three voices echoed out. Two were the exalted and the other was Danking Shen. Their voices carried praises. Danking Shen held his beard and was ready to go. The lone breach is a dangerous tactic. On a battlefield where the defensive position has its strongest defense, it caused them to neglect it, leaving fewer troops. It's always assumed the enemy would attack the weakest points in defense, so that's where the main force was placed. But experienced generals always do the opposite, concentrating all their forces on the lone point of the defenses, winning in a single blow and catching the opponent off guard. By the time he reacted, the battle was over. This requires courage and wisdom. Failure means disaster. Zhuo Fan did the same with Yilin. He stroked his ego for the sole battle and caught everyone by surprise when he went for the win. Ha ha ha, the brat is truly bold and cunning. The winner is settled and now I can do what I came here to do. Danking Shen was carefree, as if he had been fighting and left. However, a roar came from behind that caught everyone's attention. Zhuo Fan, one of us will stand on the other's shoulder to reach the peak, but that won't be you. Yilin roared and spewed blood as he did. His eyes were filled with fighting spirit, unwilling to give up yet. Zhuo Fan totally got him. The two were more or less sacred beast inheritors, so it stood to reason that it had some influence in their fight. In Yilin's case, the influence was greater as the dragon ancestor's disciple. Losing this battle means being in the other's allegiance. This was the way of the beast. It will leave a huge scar in one's mind that he did not want to have. Zhuo Fan was the same. He didn't want his mind to become burdened and stay in Yilin's shadow. It would severely impede his pursuit of Tao, so the two had entered a stalemate. Grinning evilly, Zhuo Fan made a sign, and the four dragon souls constantly shifted, speeding up the beating of the golden dragon. He wanted to get it over with fast, yet he was stalling with his speech as he taunted, "Humph, the winner is settled, give up. If dragon ancestor knew you lost to me, an inheritor of three sacred beasts, he'd understand it too. Not even he can fight three alone. Bullshit, sacred beasts are arrogant. Master won't bat an eye even if he were to fight four by himself." Yilin roared. Zhuo Fan grinned. A wise man submits to circumstances. In a sacred beast battle of 4 versus 1, defeat is obvious. Your master must be a fool if he fought in those circumstances. Your master's the fool, Yilin cursed back. At this time, Zhuo Fan's almighty scarlet dragon king once again whipped its tail right on the golden dragon's wound and made it shudder. Yilin spat blood again and could hardly keep going. Zhuo Fan snickered and kept making signs while taunting. Just then, Wu Qinkyu noticed something and shouted, "Junior brother, don't let him get to you. If you have a way to strike, now's the time, he's stalling. Do it now before it's too late. I've been duped again." Startled, Yilin glared at Zhuo Fan and spat. "Zhuo Fan, you wretched scumbag, you dare play me again? Are you even a sacred beast inheritor? I already told you we're humans. In war, there's also deception. Haven't your elders ever told you before setting out that you need to use both your fists and your brain in a brawl?" Zhuo Fan raised a taunting eyebrow. Yilin was furious and about to curse, but Wu Qinkyu's warning woke him up again. Gnashing his teeth, Yilin stomped and flew 100 meters back. He had the golden dragon flick its tail and get away as well. Yilin's face twitched as he stared at Zhuo Fan in rage. "Let me show you how a real sacred beast disciple fights. Strength is everything. I fear none of your petty tricks." Yilin made a sign and shouted, "Soul origin, golden dragon transformation, soul harmony." Roar! The golden dragon coiled in the air around Yilin. The golden flames burned hotter and yet faded with time. The golden dragon's huge bulk shrank as it drew closer to Yilin, but the dragon did not enter his mind. Instead, it focused on his body, blending with his flesh and spreading through every cell. With a fashionable golden flame explosion, Yilin's body was covered in a thick dragon scale armor, each individual scale containing the volatile and destructive golden flame. A mere flick of the wrist and the effect was like the golden dragon whipping his tail, sending a rush of superheated air storming everywhere. Whether it met the mountains, plants, or wildlife, they were all decimated. "This can't be," Zhuo Fan was shocked to the core. The exalted showed the same reaction as they jumped to their feet. "This is something only a soul harmony stage expert can do, harmonizing body and soul." The soul harmony stage was what came after the ethereal stage. It allowed one to focus their soul power into their flesh, for soul and body to become one. The body would thus become a natural defense of the soul, keeping it from harm. In other words, while Yilin's soul was greatly damaged and could no longer fight, by combining it with his body, his soul power could be fully displayed. His body would also protect it from any more harm, completely nulling the effect of Zhuo Fan's sneak attack through the use of the purple dragon. Yilin was back to when his soul was in its best shape. Moreover, since the soul and body were now one, Yilin's soul and body power combined to make him even stronger. This outcome left Zhuo Fan frowning once more. For crying out loud, am I going to fail right at the end? We're back where we started. No, it's worse actually, far worse. Zhuo Fan clenched his fists and gnashed his teeth. The others gasped in shock at the incredible development. What's going on? An ethereal stage expert can use a soul harmony stage's ability. This is insane. Then again, if one would take a simple look at Zhuo Fan in the radiant stage, one would see him using his soul as an ethereal stage expert would. Gods, these people are aberrations, one more than the other. We're the normal ones here, yet we can't hold a candle to them. It pisses me off. Only Chu King Cheng and the girls were worried for Zhuo Fan. Seeing the tables turned once more, they held their deep gazes on his figure, hoping for the best. Ha ha ha, didn't see that coming, did you? A sacred beast's body is the best, and it becomes flawless when the soul harmonizes with it. As the dragon ancestor's disciple, this soul harmony skill comes naturally. Yilin mocked, seeing Zhuo Fan's shaken face, and grinned. Now I'm a miniature version of the decimating dragon ancestor. Let's see you beat me now. Yilin shot for Zhuo Fan, the powerful golden flames surging into a typhoon. Zhuo Fan could feel the blistering heat before it reached him, practically cooking him alive. Zhuo Fan squinted and his face became stern. He made a sign and called the dragon soul to protect him. 100-meter-long savage dragon appeared before Zhuo Fan. The scarlet glow was so strong it struck fear in the average man, containing unspeakable raw power. Roar, the almighty Scarlet Dragon King saw Yilin was coming and clawed at the tiny human. A great power pressed on Yilin's shoulder, but Yilin only huffed as he spat. A stream of golden flames covered the dragon, even though it came from a tiny human. In a flash, the golden flames spread and scorched the dragon until it wailed. Its attack had no chance of continuing because of it. Yilin laughed in contempt. Zhuo Fan merely smirked, bearing through the piercing headache as he made a sign. The almighty Scarlet Dragon King turned into the heaven-devouring demonic Dragon King. The black aura around it swallowed the flames, and the pain vanished. Zhuo Fan eased a breath as well. However, Yilin was not about to let all that bashing Zhuo Fan put him through go with just a little singeing, now would he? And this demonic dragon only knew how to gulp down flames. Other than that, it was pretty much useless. So Yilin jumped in front of it and waved his hands, sending thousands of fire motes at it in the form of rain, scale shedding. Bang, the explosions didn't let up as the demonic dragon was bombarded under the heavy rain of attacks. It wailed in pain and twisted its body. Zhuo Fan shook and rushed to turn it into the vaulting Dragon King. The azure flames swallowed all the incoming golden scales and removed the danger. However, Yilin snickered now that the azure dragon was out. It was all this dragon's fault that pushed him into giving his all and leaving himself open to the purple dragon. It had to suffer for its transgression. So to get his sweet vengeance and prove his limitless power to Zhuo Fan for the last time, Yilin used a different move. Yilin jumped above the azure dragon's head and punched down. All the golden flames were gathered in that tiny fist, leaving himself open again. Yilin, you dare? Zhuo Fan cried out threateningly. Yilin mocked, just watch me. Go ahead, use the purple dragon to attack me. Yilin's golden flamed fist smashed down just like the golden dragon claw attack from before. The powerful golden flames scattered the azure flames on the azure dragon, and it hit its spine, making it howl in pain as it took the entire blow. But soon, just like before, the azure dragon turned purple and it clawed at Yilin's chest. Pa, the crack of thunder sounded, and Yilin's body was flung away, but not too far. Looking down at his chest and the singed area, he merely dusted it off as he taunted in a condescending tone. It didn't even tingle. Your purple lightning is so utterly weak. I just can't imagine how on earth you even got to hurt the golden dragon the first time. Zhuo Fan's brow shook, and he held his head as it felt like it was splitting. Yilin was different from before. The sneak attack worked last time because the golden dragon's defenses were down, while this time Yilin harmonized with his soul, making the body become a shield for the soul. In other words, Yilin was flawless. Nothing could harm him now. Unless, of course, by a powerful attack. While he could fight for longer against the battle-hungry Yilin, and the azure dragon could hold on for longer, but even then, he could not see how he could come on top in this. He was facing a dead end unless he could breach that tough body of his. Squinting, Zhuo Fan thought, lucky yours truly comes prepared for anything. As for its effect, that remains to be seen. Zhuo Fan went right to it and made a different sign as he jumped on the huge dragon. Yilin started and wondered. Soul harmony too. However, Zhuo Fan was no orthodox sacred beast inheritor. Soul harmony wasn't in his bag of tricks. Pa, with a flick of the tail, the azure dragon turned and darted through the air further and further. Away, Yilin froze in shock. What the hell? We're in the middle of something here and he bails. How is he even a sacred beast inheritor? Then came Zhuo Fan's enervating taunt. Yilin, the time's almost up. We'll settle things next time. So that's why the punk knows he can't fight, so he wants a draw. Yilin figured out his motive and exploded in rage. In a sacred beast battle, it was all about meeting power with power, not running away from it. You had me beaten around like a punching bag, but the second things look tough, you just take off. Do you think it's that easy? Yilin went right after him. Zhuo Fan snickered, revealing his evil smile. Ultimate Clarity Sect's disciples were worried. Senior brother Zhuo Fan is a bag full of dirty tricks. It can't be that junior brother's going to fall for another, can it? He shouldn't. Wu Qinkyu shook his head. Junior brother is now without weakness. His earlier trick won't work again, and the only way to defeat junior brother is by raw power. Whoosh, a huge figure shot through the air, straight for Demon Scheming Sect's disciples. The disciples saw Zhuo Fan was riding his dragon soul at them, with the even more dreaded Yilin on his tail. They instantly panicked as they fled and cursed. There are so many other, better directions when choosing to escape. Why did you have to come to us? Why are you leading death straight at us? We didn't do anything to you to die at another's hand. They were all trying to escape the area as quickly as possible. Danking Shen was also cursing. What's the punk up to this time? Why is he moving the battle here? Does he know I'm hiding here and wants me to lend a hand? Damn kid, that will expose me. With no choice and raving in his mind about Zhuo Fan's rash behavior, he hid in a corner somewhere where the monitoring arrays couldn't find him. Only his mind was still cursing. Damn brat, I'll get you for this. Exalted Double Dragons looked lost. Exalted High Ran said, hey old timer, what's he up to this time? In this particular situation, even we can see that Yilin has covered all bases. No matter what tricks he is pulling, only meeting his opponent head-on wouldn't produce any results. Ha ha ha, true, Exalted by May smiled, but did this kid ever follow common sense? Just like moments ago, how many here actually thought that the soul battle would go through another shift? Exalted High Ran smiled as well. You're right, all this kid does come as a shock, but now Yilin has combined his soul and body. This fight has now changed from a soul battle to a melee one. You might as well say he's without flaw. What plan could the kid possibly have? Wait. Exalted by May gave him a look and then nodded. Everyone else thought the same thing, looking at Zhuo Fan in worry. Yilin, now having united his soul and body, his speed was off the charts, catching up to Zhuo Fan in seconds. Looking back with a frown, Zhuo Fan made a sign and had his huge right speed up. Ha ha ha, don't waste your breath, you're too slow, Yilin cackled, his eyes red. No matter what dirty little scheme you have cooked up, it's nothing my perfect form can't handle. The only way is to break my body to reach my soul, but you lost in melee to me already. Well, I wouldn't be so quick to judge. Zhuo Fan squinted, glancing back to see the thunder ring that got shaken off earlier was close. He smiled and shouted, Kaior, shrieked the piercing cry rang throughout the sky. Just as Zhuo Fan's mount passed the ring, with Yilin close behind him, purple thunder crackled out of it. A thunderbird 100 meters big and streaked by lightning appeared and slammed into Yilin when he had his guard down. What? Yilin's eyes widened in shock. He was more than familiar with the purple lightning. And this purple lightning's level was way above what Zhuo Fan used. This was a true thunder phoenix, shattering thunder claw. With a sharp shout, Kaior flapped her wings, unleashing a deep rumble as she shot for Yilin. Then came the two sharp claws, flickering with deadly purple lightning, raking that chest covered in golden flames. PFF, it was a clash between the lightning above and the fire below. The two incredibly destructive forces clashed and unleashed a monumental explosion. Kaior's claw came down on Yilin's hard scales, just like how a spear screeched in contact with a tough shield. However, since Kaior's attack came out of the blue, he could not mount a defense, so two scales were pulled off. A patch of dark red was exposed on his chest. Yilin was taken over by severe pain and coughed blood as he was flung into the air. Everyone was dumbstruck, watching the Thunderbird gobsmacked. It displayed its grandeur as it flapped its wings with pride. Where did this spiritual beast come from? The Exalted were back on their feet again as they cried, I knew it. Old timer, see that? Exalted High Ran said excitedly. The kid's plans go back from the start. He even had such a move taken into account. Exalted by May nodded. I doubted from the start. How did the kid lose his ring in the melee so easily? Now I see it was all planned out. He sent it flying to catch Yilin right when he least expected it, which means one shouldn't get too confident, even if you're stronger. Today, Zhuo Fan had given Yilin a few harsh but good lessons. Wonder how many he'll remember, ha ha ha. Exalted High Ran turned to the Thunderbird with a frown. but with Yi Lin's strength, no average spiritual beast could scratch him. Just what beast is this? Exalted by Mei pondered before he said, it's just a 6th level spiritual beast, but far stronger than one. Not even a spiritual beast in the 8th level might be its match. It truly is strange, and from the looks of it, it resembles a thunder skylark yet far stronger. Ha ha ha, like master, like spirit animal. Zhuo Fan is a monster in himself, so of course he raises a monstrous spirit animal. He's truly something, Exalted Hairan smiled. Exalted by Mei chuckled, casting his admiring gaze on Zhuo Fan. If Yi Lin were an unseen cultivating talent, then Zhuo Fan would be an all-rounded talent, just as astounding. Unlike Yi Lin's amazing cultivation, Zhuo Fan's incredible and broadened use of skill left them more impressed. After all, strength can only get you so far. Senior brother, look. I just knew the punk had a trick in mind. A disciple of the Ultimate Clarity sect pointed at Yi Lin's patch of red on his chest. Wu Qinkyu's face twitched as he hit the other guy's head, and your happy junior brother got duped. That's not what I meant. I just wanted to say that I saw through his trick. You call that seeing? It was just a wild guess. The punk set up so many tricks, even an idiot can see that junior brother in his perfect state will get taken in. Glaring at him, Wu Qinkyu sighed, however, why did you brainless fools have to be right? The punk had another trick, and it worked. And where the hell did he find such a weird spiritual beast? There's no way the average spiritual beast can harm junior brother. The others frowned at Kaior, also shocked by her display. As Yi Lin's senior brothers, they knew how truly monstrous he was. They had seen many amazing spiritual beasts that couldn't even scratch him. So Yi Lin chose to overlook getting a pet himself, fighting all others with one without fear. But who'd have thought the day would come he'd suffer for it? It wasn't just about falling for another trick, but being hurt so much as well. He was hurt by a spiritual beast. Danking Shen sighed at the flickering purple lights. This bird is out of this world, and so is its cunning handler. He finally understood that Zhuo Fan didn't just look for a good chance to get rid of his ring. He had planned on coming up with a good excuse for the exalted double dragons as well, that of sneak attacking Yi Lin. See what I did there? I used my ring to set up a trap. Danking Shen running to the sacred mine and stealing Atlas' sword has nothing to do with me. I'm innocent. Ha ha ha, this kid's mind is truly frightening. Shaking his head, Danking Shen sighed. He was even sure Zhuo Fan came up with this tactic the minute he mentioned using the storage ring to slip in here. He had to take his hat off at this one. In the audience, Zai Tiancheng and Chu Qingcheng saw Qingcheng and felt relieved. They had seen Kaior back in the esoteric debate. They felt closer to her because Zhuo Fan had brought her out again. She has grown so much over the years. Chu Qingcheng looked with a soft gaze. Father, he's amazing. I clawed him with all I had but only managed to take 2 scales off. There's no real damage either. Kaior had flown back to Zhuo Fan in disappointment. Zhuo Fan's brow shook, his eyes grave, and this was from a sneak attack. For him not to have gotten a heavy wound even from that shows his body is tough beyond measure. No average spiritual beast can scratch him. Squinting, Zhuo Fan looked at Yi Lin, who had been flung into the air like a ragdoll after the attack, yet his heart tensed. Kaior's attack was his last ace. If even that failed, all that was left was to fight head-on, the worst option from how he saw it. He knew fully well that would mean using a very dangerous move not just for his enemy, but for him too. It was the last thing he wanted to resort to. After all, he only came up with it a short while ago and didn't even have time to test it. Who, as the wind whistled, Yi Lin flipped into the air, spitting out blood on the ground. Whoosh. Yi Lin halted his movement and looked down at his chest and the exposed flesh. His face was a mask of rage, his eyes turning cruel. Ever since I inherited Master's drop of blood, having been implanted with one of his reverse scales to refine this golden dragon body, I have never been reduced to this state. Zhuo Fan, you're the first. Yi Lin glared back at Zhuo Fan, his eyes sometimes darting at Kaior filled with bloodthirst. A dragon's scales are his dignity, and you just crushed it. Zhuo Fan, you've really gone and pissed me off. Zhuo Fan's heart shivered, and now knew why this guy's body was so hard that even Kaior could barely harm him. He's just like me, having received a part of a sacred beast's body. His Kilin arm came from soaring Kilin's leg. That was what gave him such power. Yi Lin's scale armor came from decimating dragon ancestors' reverse scale, which is harder than anything. Dragons were covered in scales, but only that particular one at the back of their necks, the reverse scale, was the toughest and the best to draw out its power. In simple terms, touching it was the same as crossing the line no one could tolerate. Since he placed the reverse scale into him and forged his body with a drop of dragon blood, he had made him nigh indestructible. No wonder he was so tough in this state. This was how much he valued the scales. Zhuo Fan just got 2 of those pulled off. It was no different than slapping him hard on the face. No wonder he said that he was just like Zhuo Fan and only wanted to defeat Zhuo Fan. Now, though, he really wanted him dead. Zhuo Fan's heart sank, knowing this had stopped being a simple match to see who was stronger. Now his life was on the line. It was either one or the other. He wanted blood now, and if he won, my head will fly. So Zhuo Fan took a deep breath and his eyes went cold. Kaior next to him noticed the change in mood and grew serious as well. Silence fell between the two sides, one of death. They no longer cared about a winner now, only to kill. Startled, Wu Qinkyu seemed to have sensed the shift as well. What's going on? Why do I feel a thick killing intent? Does that mean junior brother really wants blood? Can't be, senior brother. That kid has always been carefree. He's been acting like he wants to kill, but never going that far. Even when he was blindsided, he was only enraged. One disciple spoke confidently, but Wu Qinkyu waved him off. I've yet to see junior brother truly wishing to kill someone. Maybe because he never met anyone worthy enough to go that far. This time, though, Wu Qinkyu frowned, filled with worry. As the team leader of the Ultimate Clarity Sect disciples, he did not want to see something happening to Yi Lin or Zhuo Fan. In the fights seen the past few days, everyone's style and character were laid bare, and everyone had an understanding of each other. They saw how they related, how similar they were. Just as Zhuo Fan wanted to go further as they did on their path, that was why he didn't want to see him fall. Seeing how this shifted into a deathmatch, his heart was hesitating. The exalted double dragons noticed the shift thanks to their years of experience. This stillness is eerie. Exalted Hai Ran spoke heavily. Exalted Bai Mei nodded. The two kids are going for the kill. No matter what, these two are Western Land's future. They can't fall here. If it comes to it, we old-timers will have to violate Double Dragon Gathering's rules for the first time. It will be a severe blow to our impartial image, but worth it. Exalted Hai Ran nodded, but then sighed, old-timer, when Sheng went through so much trouble, we pacified the lands in the name of fairness. Have we turned soft or have our principles changed? Exalted Bai Mei shook his head in silence. Exalted Hai Ran did not speak anymore. He knew well about the regret the two felt about how they handled Danking Shen's matter. It had festered for so long and so much that they felt the fairness they had groomed all these years no longer looked as important. Kaior, attack! Zhuo Fan shouted and rode his dragon soul as he shot for Yi Lin. Kaior shrieked alongside him. Zhuo Fan had run out of tricks and schemes. All that was left was to meet blow for blow. The two men and one bird clashed. Yi Lin in his new form was a mighty challenge. He didn't suffer even against Zhuo Fan and Kaior. The screech and clanging of metal resounded as the dangerous shockwaves traveled everywhere. Yi Lin's body was harder than steel. No matter how hard Zhuo Fan hit, it didn't do much. At the same time, he was having a hard time resisting the incoming blows. Since he was combined in soul and body, all the strikes were packed with not just the golden dragon's power but its searing flames as well. Zhuo Fan had no choice but to keep shifting his dragon soul. The four variations could take an occasional hit or two, but Zhuo Fan's soul was under threat once more. Fortunately, he had a helper, Kaior. Being born out of purple lightning and imposing like the thunder phoenix, she would meet the golden flames without fear. The purple lightning rained down on Yi Lin's body and exploded when meeting the flames. Yi Lin had no choice but to shift some of them for defense. Kaior's purple lightning was unlike the junk Zhuo Fan's purple dragon used. That was a power gained after being trained for years. It had reached such a degree, and Kaior might just be the new thunder phoenix. Yi Lin could not ignore the power of a sixth heaven purple lightning and had to defend with his golden flames, thus giving Zhuo Fan some breathing room. Even so, the pair had yet to do any real damage ever since that last sneak attack. In fact, the two were being pushed back under Yi Lin's onslaught. The fight had entered a stalemate. Despite the obvious discrepancy in strength, the two sides had no way of defeating the other for a while. Zhuo Fan knew he was at a disadvantage, but still kept his cool. He knew the time was almost up and the fight would be judged as a draw. While he wanted to win, he was not that desperate. He knew Yi Lin wanted to win much more than him. When Yi Lin was restless enough, he would get an opening to use. That was why good things happened to those who waited. Seeing through Zhuo Fan's intent, or maybe he showed it on purpose, Yi Lin was getting tense and impatient. He wanted to strike Zhuo Fan down for good, but Kaior would not let him. Time was running out. Bang! Yi Lin threw a bunch of scales, and Zhuo Fan used the Azure Dragon to mitigate the explosions. Yi Lin wanted to claw the Azure Dragon, but Kaior butted in, and the impact of the purple lightning sent him flying and refocused on defense. He might have the advantage, but his hands were tied. Blast it. I have to get rid of that damn bird and fast. Yi Lin gnashed his teeth. Yin-Yang Dragon Claw. Yi Lin's eyes flashed and shot for Zhuo Fan. His hand turned into a claw enveloped by raging flames as he aimed at Zhuo Fan's heart. Zhuo Fan used the killing arm to block, but behind it he grinned. Kids these days have no patience, ha ha ha. Whoosh, the golden claw whistled through the air and was about to strike while Zhuo Fan used his Kilin arm as a shield, ready to take it on. The Kilin arm comes from the soaring Kilin. At the very least, it won't get me broken bones if you hit me anywhere else. It will take your blow. Shriek Kaior rushed in support, wanting to use this chance to strike. The claw was about to hit. If Yilin kept attacking, the claw would do nothing to Zhuo Fan's Kilin arm. Only the golden flames would seep in a little and barely cause any harm. Why else would I use that arm for all my attacks? Then Kaior would come bearing brutal purple lightning to make another heavy wound on him after focusing all he had in that claw. It was, without a doubt, a bad tactic to use this attack. This scene had been recurring many times already. When one attacked with everything, the other would come to take advantage of the opening, only to force the attacker to shift to defense. This time was no different. Only Yilin was at the end of his patience. He would rather suffer another hit from Kaior to get Zhuo Fan. It was an eye for an eye, you dare boy. With 2 against 1, going for mutual harm isn't worth it. Zhuo Fan once again intimidated him while sneering inside. He's rash enough now, Yilin snorted, mutual harm. Humph, I might have fallen for your tricks so far, but that's going to change. This time I'm going to get rid of your spirit animal. Yilin was gone and left behind him his golden flames. It was like he was still attacking Zhuo Fan but lacking in power. But just the golden flames wouldn't be able to even singe Zhuo Fan's clothes, since Zhuo Fan had the Azure Dragon and Demon Transformation art to absorb it. However, Yilin's figure appeared next to the golden flames and unleashed another claw, but this time at Kaior. Everyone gasped. Since Zhuo Fan revealed his purple dragon, they knew the purple lightning was a force to be reckoned with. It was brutal and powerful but lacked in defense. So Yilin fainted, striking Zhuo Fan, who had the Kilin arm for defense, while going for the defenseless Kaior would show much better results. Kaior would be gravely wounded if struck, the two's cooperation would fail, and Yilin would gain a real advantage. Dealing with Zhuo Fan later would only take a minute. This was the most definitive moment in this long and bitter match. Kaior was startled, having not expected this. Feeling on her feathers the sharpness of that dragon claw, she tensed. Yin-yang dragon claw, one real, one fake, Yilin snickered as his strike was about to land. He laughed. Zhuo Fan, you schemed for so long against me, but now it's my turn. My strike against you is fake, while the one against your spirit animal is real. This time your cooperation failed, ha ha ha. Zhuo Fan's brow shook as he floated in the air. The audience grew tense, having not expected Yilin would also start using feints. Wu Qinkyu chuckled, ha ha ha, junior brother finally used his head. Not that he's slow, but that his opponents were never worth the effort. They all felt it was curtains for this long and exciting match. However, Zhuo Fan's grin was most devious. His right eye flashed golden, ha ha ha, I don't really care how you go all out, just as long as you do. Divine Eye of the Void first stage shift, whoosh in a flash, Zhuo Fan and Kaior did the all switcheroo so that Zhuo Fan was on the receiving end of Yilin's real strike. Yilin cried out, what the hell, where's that damn poultry? PFF. Just then, the golden flame image was flapped away by Kaior's wings, and she unleashed her purple lightning storm and clawed at Yilin's chest. The last claw had taken away his hard scales, and this one was bound to send purple lightning right into his innards. This had long stopped being an issue of winning for Yilin. He had to first protect his little life from being cooked from the inside. Wu Qinkyu cried out and tensed. The exalted shot to their feet and were just as nervous. It all happened so fast. 1 minute it was Yilin's obvious advantage, and the next, his target switched places, putting him in grave danger. SSS gulping, Yilin was scared out of his mind. He halted his attack on Zhuo Fan and tried to get into a stance to defend, though it would take some time. Left with no choice, Yilin could only lane, taking Kaior's sharp claws on his back and letting her remove 2 more glittering scales. Scarlet blood flowed from his back, and he gnashed his teeth from the pain. The sudden heavy blow had also interrupted the claw now meant for Zhuo Fan. Even after careful planning, he was still the one ending up hurt again while his adversary was untouched. Kaior flew back to Zhuo Fan, throwing away the scales in her claws. Father, he just turned around and I couldn't get him in the heart. It's fine, he's just too quick to react. In fact, we dealt a great blow this time. He now has 2 weaknesses. We'll now resort to pincer strikes and see how long he'll last, ha ha ha. Zhuo Fan laughed as he snickered at Yilin. The clearer it is you can win with brawn, the more you need to use your head. Don't you know using your faults to fight an enemy's strengths is dumb? Trying to use feints against me, who had been among schemes all his life. Kid, you're unbearably naive. Yilin's face twitched in anger, gritting his teeth. The audience had to agree on that. They thought Yilin finally played Zhuo Fan, only to be toyed with instead. Getting trapped as you lay a trap must sting. Wen Tao sighed, seeing Yilin boiling mad, using brains to crush the other. Yilin is clearly stronger, but Zhuo Fan keeps leading him, making this focused disciple lose his bearing. If he had kept to his beliefs, he wouldn't have to suffer so much. Focused, Zai Tianqing raised an eyebrow. Wen Tao nodded, yes, cultivators like us all have a focus as we advance. Some do it for power, some for status, some for fame, and some for supremacy. Each of us is walking the path we want that lead to the birth of personal beliefs and convictions. Isn't Yilin blunt? Then he should just take any adversary head-on. But after meeting Zhuo Fan, he's been toyed with so many times that he lost his way and stooped to fumbling on the other's path. He's been strung along all this time. Wen Tao looked above and smiled. The time's almost up. Now Yilin will become even more restless. He won't fall for another trick soon, and Zhuo Fan won't snatch a win soon either. It'll be a draw. But then he heard Zhuo Fan looking at the pretty sky and exclaimed, "Oh my, would you look at the time? It's going to be a draw at this rate." Staggering, Wen Tao stared at Zhuo Fan, then shook his head. Zhuo Fan is really devious. Even in the last moment, he can't help but prod Yilin. Wishing for victory just as much, Zhuo Fan is savage and cunning to stir the other even more. Zai Tianqing chuckled. That's always been his nature. Huff gasping, Yilin was close to exhaustion both mentally and physically. He glared at the bird and man in hatred, but with no way of finishing them off. This frickin' punk is too sly. If he were too rash, he'd be duped. If he went too slow, he'd suffer for it even worse. The adversary always aimed to toy with his mind, thus making him unable to cope. He was now left confused and lost as to how to proceed. It was his first time meeting such an adversary. He was clearly stronger, yet could do nothing to win. Just as he was filled with confusion, a shout broke through the haze. "Junior brother, he's rushing you on purpose. Don't fall for it. If you don't know what to do, ask your heart." Shaken up, Yilin looked back to see his head senior brother, Wu Qinkyu. Yilin's face twitched, and it finally dawned on his foggy mind. He had been strung along until he was lost, veering off his path. With a deep breath, Yilin regained his calm and closed his eyes. "Master, my sect is going through the outer sect competition tomorrow. There can only be 10 new inner disciples, but I'm just an outer disciple in the 21st place. What do I do?" a young Yilin asked the dragon ancestor. The huge dragon eye stared coldly as his voice rumbled, "Get rid of all those 20 people in front of you. But I can't beat them. Beat them all, or don't bother seeing me again," the dragon ancestor said coldly, then turned his back. Face sinking, the young Yilin felt put on the spot. "They're better than me in martial arts and cultivation methods. How can I beat them? And the first 10 get to be inner disciples. I only need to beat 10. Worthless." "Get lost, master. Why are you cussing at me? Did I say something wrong?" Humans are devious and seize any chance to win while also being weak. But if you think of yourself like that, you're not worthy of calling me master. The huge dragon spoke. "Among spiritual beasts, every creature knows its position. Its place is clear to all. Do you know why?" Yilin shook his head. "Why would I know that crap?" the dragon ancestor mocked. "That's because since ancient times, since the primal chaos, once a spiritual beast lost, its rank is set. Every generation knows this. Once you lose, you will always lag behind. We, the 5 great sacred beasts, are at the peak of all spiritual beasts. We had fought among ourselves, but we could never win against each other, so we stood together. But in their hearts, they all wish to stand above everyone, to be the one true king. That's why our path, that of spiritual beasts, is to win. Winning means life, glory, and respect. It doesn't matter who is in front of you, how weak or strong or how many. You are to remember my words, boy. If you are to be my disciple, you just have to win. Even if there were 100 people in front of you in the sect, you still have to go through all of them. You have to risk your life and fight them to win. There are still 3 months as well. I will see your progress afterward." The dragon ancestor closed his eyes and curled up to sleep. The young Yilin bowed and withdrew. 3 months later, a flash of fire revealed Yilin once more. His meridians were crushed and hanging by a thread. "Master, I won," Yilin wheezed out. The dragon ancestor cast a cold gaze. "All of them. I beat all of them. I staked my life and they thought I was crazy. None wanted to meet me head-on. Finally, I came out first." With a faint smile, Yilin continued, "Master, you were right. Humans are opportunistic and weak. None dared to face me. But now my body is ruined and the inner sect doesn't want me anymore. Someone even laughed at me for being a fool. But I didn't care. I won and I felt great. It was all worth it." The dragon ancestor nodded. "The average man is blinded by fame and can't see the value of winning. You, however, now know the value in being first and have earned your right to be decimating dragon ancestor's disciple." The dragon ancestor's brow creased as a burning drop of blood flew out from between. It glittered like a ruby as it settled on Yilin's forehead. The dragon ancestor then clawed the back of his neck and came out with a sharp scale, the hardest reverse scale. Like a huge quilt, he settled it over Yilin. The dragon ancestor then breathed out golden flames onto the kid. After a full 49 days passed, the true dragon ancestor inheritor, the one we saw today, was born. He also inherited his master's path to win. Losing once meant losing everything. Opening his eyes, Yilin had no hesitation left in them. He knew his path, his beliefs. Bouncing around from one trick to another was not a sacred beast style. For a sacred beast disciple, all that mattered was to win. Even if he was facing a fierce pair, he just had to stake it all and win. Yilin's spirit was lifted and caused even Zhuo Fan to shudder. Kaior, be careful. This punk has made up his mind. He won't fall for it again. This time we're fighting to the end, Zhuo Fan warned. He had seen his fair share of resolute people like Yilin, and all of them were a big thorn to deal with. He had to keep his guard up no matter what came. Yilin put his hands together as he went through a series of signs. When he finished, his entire body exploded with power. The powerful decimating golden flame surged higher and higher like an endless sea. Zhuo Fan was in shock. Just what is he trying to do? The exalted double dragons were stunned as well. They could see that Yilin held in his eyes the desire to win, one that drove him mad. Yilin made the final sign, and the torrent of golden flames rolled around him, and the image of a huge dragon appeared behind him, bearing its fangs and savagery. The flaming inferno gathered around the dragon head and was ready to strike at any second. This, Wu Qinkyu gasped, is this soul scorching? Junior brother is going to burn his soul just to win? What? Ultimate clarity sect's disciples were in disbelief. That's only used when one fights to the very end. If not careful, he could burn his entire soul away. The enemy only got him twice with his tricks, so why must he use such a definite strike? This is too extreme. You don't understand. This is the real junior brother. Wu Qinkyu shook his head and sighed. Did you all forget that outer sect competition? How did junior brother become the first to enter the inner sect? The others recalled those brutal fights and nodded. I've never seen a crazier lunatic in my life. Just to win, he staked his life. To the point, he got everyone so scared they soiled their pants. He even managed to beat the first outer disciples, but he broke his body to do it. The inner sect elder saw him ruined and didn't want him. He then asked senior brother to take him to the secret realm. Then, after 49 days, he returned as a true genius. This made people talk about the secret realm as being not just a heaven to refine the soul but the body as well. A shame that it never worked for anyone else. What you don't know is that after I saw his desperate struggle since he yearned to go to the secret realm, I chose to honor his last wish. But when I left his body, I soon found it gone. I used to think someone took it, only to find out 49 days later that he entered the inner sect. I believe there's a real secret in there, but he didn't want to tell anyone. Sighing, Wu Qinkyu said, now I understand that was where he found his path. Now his mind is back to that time, and he sees Zhuo Fan as his bitter enemy. Everyone turned to Yilin and nodded. Ever since Yilin was reborn, no one could force him to show all he had, until Zhuo Fan came along. That was why the kid was back to that time when he staked his life. Biting winds and searing hot air washed over Zhuo Fan, who was creasing his brows hard at the problem he faced. Such power was clearly meant for him and Kaior together. He has stopped trying to deal with us one by one and wants to end us together. This is a madman no matter how one sees him. The best way to deal with a team was to pick them out individually. Taking them all out at the same time was too dangerous and pricey. Yilin, however, was a sacred beast inheritor. In his eyes, winning was everything and worth everything. Kaior, no matter what happens, you must stay behind me. I can take it, Zhuo Fan warned carefully. Kaior nodded despite the odd glimmer in her eyes. Golden scorching flames surrounded Yilin. That concentrated and frightening power erupted now and then, singing more and more of the valley's flora. Demon scheming sect and ultimate clarity sect's disciples had long since ducked for cover 4 miles out, yet never taking their eyes off this grand and brutal battle. Yet even at this distance, the burning heat made them all sweat, only to be vaporized the next instant. All of them were strong kids of their generations, except for Yuer in the 3rd layer radiant stage, who had to take cover 40 miles away. Regardless, they all had difficulty resisting the fire, feeling as if it might pulverize them any second. Yilin's burning soul had made the decimating dragon ancestors' golden flames reach a new height of power, a power that could wipe anything out of existence. Even the audience watching the screen seemed to feel that dreadful power around them. The exalted stood up in shock and worry. Could Zhuo Fan even take such a strike? If their lives were put in danger, they would definitely intervene. Chu Qingcheng and the girls held their fists tight, their brows scrounged up in deep worry for Zhuo Fan's fate. If others could feel close to dying so far away, it went without saying that Zhuo Fan was getting the worst of it. Thick black energy covered his body. Heaven-devouring demonic dragon king coiled its body to protect him. It used the demon transformation art to refine this scorching heat. Zhuo Fan's eyes shook and grew tense as he used his dragon soul to keep Kaior out of harm's way behind him. He said, Kaior, this might be the last clash to settle this fight. Help me at the start, but then you are to leave as fast as possible. Leave this to me. Yes, father. Kaior gave a hard nod, but her eyes shone with hesitation, something Zhuo Fan completely missed in his precarious state. He was only focused on Yi Lin. This has to be the punk's last-ditched effort. I just got to live through this, and Zhuo Fan's gaze became hard as his hands made signs. In the 11th hour of the fight, these two were ready to stake it all. Zhuo Fan was going to use every dirty trick and skill he had learned to block this attack Yi Lin would unleash after he burned his soul to unleash it. Yi Lin watched Zhuo Fan with a ragged breath. The strain on his soul was immense, but his eyes had never been more focused. His thirst for victory was like no other. In a fight of sacred beast inheritors, the last winner shall be me. Yi Lin shouted, Zhuo Fan and that pet of yours, take this, decimating dragon roar, roar. The huge dragon image around Yi Lin roared, shaking the world, the mountains, and the skies. With this roar, the golden flames shot for Zhuo Fan like a flamethrower, disintegrating anything in its path with its deadly heat. Zhuo Fan was overwhelmed. The exalted were in shock. They had never seen such focused power. Moreover, this power was focused on the decimating golden flame, which was already deadly to begin with. Just taking this attack would wipe one out of this world. Danking Shen, hiding somewhere to the side, jerked, and his fingers were moving, wanting to come to the rescue. Against such power, not even a peak ethereal stage expert could survive it, let alone Zhuo Fan in the radiant stage. Just as he took a step, he halted. If he went out there now, all his efforts would be lost. He found himself unable to make a decision. The exalted double dragons saw this scene with tense looks, ready to step in as well. However, they were hoping more than anything that Zhuo Fan would give them a shocking surprise. Zhuo Fan's brow shook. Not even he had foreseen the other would unleash such an almighty attack. His heart was quivering, but the die was cast. All he could do now was shout, Kaior now. Yes, father. Kaior spread her wings, and flickering purple lightning gathered within them as they cracked the air. Heaven-destroying thunder phoenix, rumble the earth shook, and the air quivered as Kaior's flap of her wings sent a 300-meter large thunderbird straight for the incoming fire. At the same time, Zhuo Fan shouted as well, Wraith Style's third move, Necro Dragon Screech. Roar, the demonic dragon shifted into the golden flame's bane, the vaulting dragon king. The huge dragon roared as it charged, its azure flame surging over its body. It combined with the purple thunderbird to unleash an even greater power. The audience was at the edge of their seats, fervent and expectant. They were all excited seeing these three mighty strikes being unleashed. Even Yan Mo, a genius in his own right, was overwhelmed. Yi Lin and Zhuo Fan's fight had to be the strongest clash in thousands of years of double dragon gathering. None of the geniuses of Western lands could hold a candle to them. Now they wanted to see who among these two would be the best disciple in Western lands, the future best in Western lands. Boom, the three powers finally came to a head. Only the audience watched in awe as Kaior and Zhuo Fan's powers were crushed almost instantly by Yi Lin's golden flames. They went right through the Thunderbird and Azure Flames in an overwhelming defeat. Everyone was tense and Zhuo Fan's face fell, his brow soaked with sweat. Yi Lin's attack was beyond anything he had dreamed of. He had some guesses, but not to this extent. In the face of such might, all the ways he thought of to deal with it left him shaking. They were not enough. Now that it had come to this, he could only do all he could and leave it to fate. Divine Eye of the Void's fifth stage, Void Wall. Zhuo Fan's right eye flashed with 5 golden halos, and 100 meters around him formed a spatial barrier. This was the unexpected benefit of the 3-day soul training he went through before this fight, allowing him to set up spatial walls to defend. Alas, he never had a chance to get familiar with this move and didn't know if it would keep back the flames. Zhuo Fan tensed as the sweat mounted. Bam, the golden flamethrower slammed into the barrier and was stopped in its tracks. It worked. Zhuo Fan was happy, yet the audience was stumped as to what he did now. The exalted double dragons tensed, then admired. This kid has an endless bag of tricks. However, no one got the chance to breathe easier as cracks resounded, spreading all over the air around Zhuo Fan like a spiderweb. Zhuo Fan also felt his right eye was on fire from all the pain, but he gritted his teeth. The 5 golden halos were still shining, even as blood seeped out. Bam. Finally, the barrier cracked open and the burning flames went straight for Zhuo Fan, even if more subdued than before. It was clear that the void wall was truly strong. Despite failing in the end, it brought Zhuo Fan hope. It might be strong, but it can be blocked. Ugh, Zhuo Fan held his bleeding right eye as he wailed, yet his mouth was perked in a smile. Since this barrier works, I'll just slow the attack down bit by bit. Zhuo Fan ignored the wound in his eye and took away his arms to reveal 4 golden halos. Divine Eye of the Void's fourth stage, Space Crusher. The powerful vibrations consumed 100 meters around him, yet the fierce flames were still getting closer as if they were unaffected. The scorching flames were so strong that they actually burned the oscillations. Zhuo Fan's heart tensed as he watched incredulously. Space Crusher had no effect whatsoever. Now he had nothing left to wear down the flames. That meant he would have to bear the heat all by himself. Zhuo Fan's heart sank, his eyes reflecting the still almighty burning flames. His face had never been more grave. If I knew it was going to be like this, I'd have used that tiebreaker, though I've just learned it and it's still dangerous. It was not only dangerous for himself, but for the enemy as well. Am I seeking stability too much? Seeing the flames right on top of him, Zhuo Fan was filled with regret. Why couldn't he have done like Yilin did and risk his life to unleash all he had? Alas, it was already too late to do anything. Taking a deep breath, Zhuo Fan finally decided to face the golden flames head-on. He sent the vaulting Dragon King to coil around him and wrap him in thick azure flames. This was his last chance, to use the azure flame's quality as a mediator between yin and yang to subdue the golden flame's brutality. But with how the azure flame and golden flame engender each other, it might combine with the golden flame. He had to first wear it down, or with how strong the golden flame was, it would simply scatter his aside. The crux was, after the azure flame was blown away, all that was left was his defenseless dragon soul. This was his last defense. Afterward, his soul might perish. Outside of using the azure dragon, he had no other way. That was why he was finally giving his all in this fight. Frowning, Zhuo Fan glared at the dazzling flames. As they drew closer, his sweat kept pouring out. He offered one last prayer of hope. Let this be enough. Yilin looked on coldly as he gasped, "It's no use. I burned my own soul to unleash this decimating golden flame. A half-baked sacred beast inheritor like you stands no chance. Farewell, my fated adversary." Bam! The flames slammed into the azure dragon at last. The powerful force made the dragon shake and howl in pain. Zhuo Fan's mind was overcome with pain as well. It felt like his head was exploding from the thousands of blades sinking into it, but he held on still. He had the azure flame face the incoming attack, wanting to submerge the golden flames in an ocean of azure. He had no chance. The long stream of scorching flames was like a needle, piercing the azure flame sea. Even as they touched, the azure flame offered no resistance. He was lucky enough if his own power wasn't worn out instead. He had never imagined that Yilin's attack would be condensed to such a degree. It was so strong that his last-ditch effort was useless. The azure flame had no way of chipping away at the attack, not a damn use it had. Going at it with such a defense was practically suicide. If he had known, he would have done that. That was what he should have done from the start. Suddenly, Zhuo Fan's body shook from endless despair and regret. Unfortunately, it was too late to come out of this one. As the golden flames came closer, a burning storm swept the entire body of the azure dragon and immediately removed its flames. Before the golden flames reached it, its heat was constantly burning the dragon's soul. Zhuo Fan's head was boiling as he spat out crimson blood. It's over. Once the flames entered the dragon's soul, he was a goner. He had been aware of Yilin's power, but it seemed that he still underestimated his opponent. Even if he wanted to use a real desperate move now, it was far too late. This fight was going to take his life away. Letting out a long breath, Zhuo Fan was overcome with regret. Chu Qingcheng was distraught, her eyes tearing over. Xu and Sheiyu snickered all the while at his misfortune. The exalted double dragons were just about to put an end to this fight. However, a cry pierced everyone's ears. They all saw as purple lightning flickered, and a familiar figure floated in front of the dragon's soul. Zhuo Fan squinted and he saw the tens of meters of a big purple bird, Kaior. Did he not tell her to stay clear? Why? Kaior faced the golden flames coming at the azure dragon without remorse. Wait, Kaior, finally dawning on him, Zhuo Fan shouted. But Kaior, streaked with purple lightning, had already met the golden flames. The purple lightning and the golden flames were brutal powers between heaven and earth, and as they clashed, it was almost like a resonance, issuing endless explosions. Maybe Kaior had used every ounce of purple lightning she had as the golden flames were stopped. Even though the mighty flames were stopped, its power was still incredible. The golden flames swallowed Kaior in its searing heat, even as her eyes were stubbornly holding on, using every drop of energy she had, even willing to use her life just to stop the flames. In the clashes between the purple lightning and golden flames, the flames were subsiding, seen with the naked eye. The purple lightning was like a chisel, chipping away at its power. The golden flame was like a viper, tearing at Kaior at every chance it got, burning her plumes. She did not care, holding on with all she had to crush the golden flames. Zhuo Fan's heart was in pain. He knew now that Kaior was sacrificing herself for his sake. Finally, the golden flames made a last bang as they dissipated. Kaior was now burned all over, the purple flickering on her body long since exhausted. She just plopped on the ground powerlessly. Zhuo Fan shook all over as he took one hard step after another closer to her. Chu Qingcheng held her mouth, her eyes glistening with tears. "Thank you, Kaior, such a protective spirit animal," Wen Tao sighed. Zai Tiansheng was the most familiar with Zhuo Fan and sighed as well. Zhuo Fan raised this spiritual beast as his daughter. "I see. No wonder she's so loyal." Wen Tao gave Kaior a long look of admiration. Zai Tiansheng shook his head. "Senior brother, you didn't understand me. I mean to say that now that Zhuo Fan's daughter Kaior lays dead, he will be truly enraged. The last time that happened, he ate his enemy alive. Just thinking about it gives me the chills. But can he even do it? Yilin's power," Wen Tao frowned. Zai Tiansheng smiled with a shake of his head. In the esoteric debate, he wasn't that guy's match either. Trust me when I say this, those that he wants dead have no chance of living. Wen Tao's heart shook in shock and looked at Zhuo Fan with a grave face. "Foolish girl, didn't I tell you to run? Now that you're so big, you won't listen to your dad." Slowly walking to Kaior, Zhuo Fan bent down, caressing the sizzling body burned by the golden flames. He felt one last trace of energy in her and rushed to take out a pill to give her, smiling calmly. Yet that calm hid a dreadful bloodlust. After they heard his words, they all shivered to their bones. Yilin panted from that heavy exertion and shouted, "Zhuo Fan, your spirit animal had saved you from death, but it's only a matter of time now. It shows that I will win by staking it all. While you, who don't have such power, will lose." Yilin was once again making signs, gathering the same power he used before to unleash it again. "Wait, junior brother, he doesn't have the spirit animal's help now." "You don't have to go that far," Wu Qinkyu cried out. Yilin didn't even hear him as he kept going, even as his breath grew heavier and face paler. There wasn't much time, and Zhuo Fan was beyond cunning. He wanted to win, and that meant he had to use all he had to destroy his opponent and leave no room for error. This was his beast path, victory above all else. Tightening his fists, Zhuo Fan stood up and gnashed his teeth with bloodshot eyes. "You want to stake it all? Ha ha ha, you asked for it. These kids still want to fight." Exalted Hai Ran watched the battlefield intently as he sighed. It had now stopped being a simple match to declare a winner. It's a battle to the death. Just what grudge could they have to go so far? Exalted Bai Mei sighed. "Let's ignore that for now. Let's assume Yilin's soul can take unleashing that attack again. Zhuo Fan would still have no chance of stopping it. It is a high chance that this fight will end in both of them dying. If we could, calling it a draw would be better than losing both." "Judge, how much time is there?" Looking below, Exalted Hai Ran asked. The judge checked the sun's position and bowed. "Exalted, there are still 15 minutes left. Enough for one more hard clash. I hope those two will be fine." Exalted Bai Mei shook his head. Both of them looked at the two kids with pity. A mountain can only have one tiger. Who the golden flames flared hotter and hotter as the image of a huge dragon head formed behind Yilin, glaring at Zhuo Fan. The audience gasped but mostly cheered at the development. It was a real eye-opener to see such a destructive attack being unleashed. Now that it was happening again, they couldn't be happier. Chu Qingcheng was wrought with worry once more. The girls saw how Zhuo Fan had nothing that could deal with such an attack, not even to defend himself. "Young sect leader, Steward Zhuo, just be reasonable and give up. You've done more than enough." "There's no need for you to give your life for the sect," Fiend Yang prayed, fearing the worst. Yanmo frowned as he clenched his fists. Yu Mei next to him asked, "Senior brother, are you sympathizing with your once enemy or cheering Yilin to finish him? The strong need not sympathy. All I know is this. After this, one of them will be the best disciple in Western lands, the future best in Western lands." Yan Mo's brow shook, yet even as he spoke, his eyes never left Zhuo Fan. Yu Mei scowled at this and shook her head. He already picked a side, yet he just doesn't want to admit it. He hoped Zhuo Fan would win this, and while Zhuo Fan wouldn't admit it to him, the two had become friends through the fight they had. As demonic cultivators, Zhuo Fan had earned his truest respect. That was why he hoped Zhuo Fan would win, despite knowing full well the hopes were slim at best. Everyone around the screen was eager to see the conclusion of this grand fight, especially the sect teams, all hoping Zhuo Fan would come out alive, even if losing. Only Zhao Deju, Xuan Sheiyu, and a few others were reveling in his misery. This punk will finally leave this world for good. Yilin's signs came to an end and the power around him exploded in size while his body grew weaker. However, he didn't care, grinning as he laughed. "Zhuo Fan, I win. Are you ready for the decimating dragon roar?" With a roar, a spray of molten golden flames spewed straight for Zhuo Fan just like before. The crowd was stretched taut, afraid of missing anything. Zhuo Fan perked up his mouth and wiped the blood off. He looked at the unconscious and badly wounded Kaior and gave a shake of his head. Kaior, did you know your dad never owes anyone anything, especially favors? But today, this debt I have to repay is heavy. You risked your life for me when I couldn't put mine on the line for myself. Ha ha ha, I'm such a fool. This time, even if it's now even more dangerous, I will do it. I will stake my life for you and obliterate that obnoxious punk. Zhuo Fan's hands began his own signs. The azure dragon's flames vanished, yet it didn't turn into another variation, returning back to its prismatic and original form as it guarded him. Startled, the crowd was taken by surprise. Right at the most crucial moment, he renounces his variants and goes for the basic dragon soul. Zhuo Fan closed his eyes as he finished the last sign with a vague smile. An azure flame flickered on the dragon's forehead. SSS purple lightning streaked its body like thousands of snakes. They reached the dragon head where they vanished with a rumble. Dark mist, black as night, shifted all over the dragon, converging at the head once more and disappearing. Yilin was puzzled. Then an explosion happened and the dragon head released the aura of 3 different powers. The azure flame burned on the forehead, with a purple streak flashing inside it. Then the black mist enveloped them all as a 4th power, Killin's red glow, covered them like a furnace to get them to combine. As they did, a terrible aura was unleashed. The others could barely feel it, but Yilin, being the closest, felt its raw power rise. Grinning, Zhuo Fan said, "You guessed it, this is my way of combining the 4 dragon souls. I didn't do it before because even I'm scared of this power, scared I can't control it and kill myself with it. But now I thought that since I'm fighting with my life, I have to show something for it. If I die by failing to do it, then that's my luck. But if I succeed in combining them, then you're dead." Startled, Yilin looked overwhelmed as he stared intently at the dragon's forehead. Yet somehow, even as the powers mingled, they did not combine. It was also then that Yilin's spray of molten flames reached Zhuo Fan. "Ha ha ha, your time's up, maybe it can never combine at all. These powers all come from a sacred beast's raw trait. They are inherently repulsed by anything else." Maybe for Zhuo Fan or for himself, Yilin cackled as he saw his attack about to reach Zhuo Fan. Zhuo Fan simply stated, "Yilin, you just don't get my cultivation method. I walk the common path of all the others. Moreover, the 5 great sacred beasts all come from the primal chaos, each wielding one aspect of it. Hasn't it ever occurred to you that they were once a whole? Ha ha ha, it might be just a wild guess or the actual truth. Regardless, today one of us will die. If I die from my own combined power instead of yours, ain't a bad way to go either." Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed and he raised an eyebrow. "By the way, since I figured the 5 powers could fuse, I find the 3 of them just lacking, so let's add another one." With a boom, on the dragon's forehead appeared a golden flame, the decimating golden flame. "Wah how?" Yilin cried out, dismissing him with a wave. Zhuo Fan fibbed, "Easy now, it's just a smidgen my demonic dragon stole from you. Nothing to it. Then again, it is a great boost in my realization of combining these powers. After all, you need both gentle and brutal flames to get them to combine, ha ha ha." Zhuo Fan turned to the dragon head, eager for the result. Just like he thought, since the golden flame was introduced, it began to quickly combine with the azure flame. Then the purple lightning constantly zapped them as it joined the fusion. It was all going quite smoothly. With the Killin power as the furnace, demon transformation art the base, and the purple lightning as the medium, the 2 flames stabilized as they united. The searing heat of the golden flame was right on top of Zhuo Fan. The power was so much that it caused Zhuo Fan's white hair to wither. The audience gasped in worry. Some girls even cried out and looked away. A ripple spread from the dragon's forehead just then and revealed a black flame, with streaks of purple flashing now and then. Its almighty power swept everything, disintegrating all in its path. Yilin's spray of flames had met its match as it stopped. It was more accurate to say that it did not stop at all. Even as it kept going, it was just being pulverized once past a certain point so that it never reached Zhuo Fan. Zhuo Fan spewed blood and shook. He looked back at his dragon's soul and saw it twitch all over as the black flame was going crazy. "Just like I thought, the deadliest variant. I have no way of controlling it as I am. Its power is even above the 5 great sacred beasts." Zhuo Fan rejoiced inside, even as the blood kept pouring out of his mouth. The dreaded power blew over, making even Yilin, covered in flames, shiver and take a step back. His always invincible golden flame was pushed back and subdued. The dragon image around him was also on the verge of falling apart. The moment the palm-sized thunder flame showed up, it brought with it unspeakable change. The spray of golden flames never even touched Zhuo Fan, pulverized ahead of schedule due to the thunder flame. Yilin was dumbstruck. How can this be? What the hell is that thing anyway? How can it make the decimating golden flame unable to fight back at all? How much terrifying power does that guy have? Yilin squinted, his eyes vacant as he stared at the thunder flame on the dragon's forehead. To him, the 5 great sacred beasts' powers were supreme. When was there a time they would shirk away instead? Never. Not even the 5 great sacred beasts would believe the world would have such kind of power either. Yet reality proved otherwise. A terrible power that surpassed all was about to be born. All of it came from Zhuo Fan's powers he got from those emperors and sacred beasts, then fused them. This aura is the same I felt when Steward Zhuo came from his room. No, even worse. Qi Lang shuddered at the sight of that power capable of destroying anything and everything. He gulped in fear. The rest bobbed their heads in reflex, staring at it with soaked backs. They had no clue what ultimate move Zhuo Fan pulled to unleash such power, but they were afraid of it. The ultimate Clarity Sect team had it worse. Wu Qinkyu's face fell the instant the thunder flame showed up. He had no clue about what Zhuo Fan did, but he could feel that this power was beyond Yilin's golden flame. He had an inkling this power was not something a human should have. It felt like it was an omen to the destruction of this world. Face twitching, Wu Qinkyu gnashed his teeth and forced a smile. Gods, just how far did those two's fight go? I have no doubt the two would be leveling double Dragon Manor if they fight like this again. Senior brother, why you're exaggerating? They're only at the ethereal stage. The double Dragon Manor has the exalted, so they can't let it happen, one disciple said. Wu Qinkyu shook his head with a solemn look. You're still green and can't see it. This isn't about strength, but being worlds apart among each other. You all know just how deadly Junior Brother's golden flame can be, but that black thunder flame gives me an even worse feeling. I firmly believe the exalted couldn't block this thunder flame that isn't any less than the golden flame. Wu Qinkyu's brow was soaked as he watched on. This frickin' fight is beyond outrageous, one more dreadful than the other. They're just not human. SSS, the audience watched the image on the screen fading to static, and the gatekeepers made constant signs to change the angle to restore the signal. The thing was, it was always further and further away from the fight. When the image finally stabilized, they were watching from 3 miles away. All the audience saw were the 2 dots standing still, while the dazzling flame spray and the black flame on Dragon's forehead were at odds. What happened? Why is the image so far away? Exalted High Ran asked the 2 elders. One of them bowed. Exalted, the monitoring arrays around the 2 have some interference and stops us from looking closer. The closest one working is this monitoring array 3 miles away. What? Exalted by May cried out. All the monitoring arrays in that valley were set up with sacred stones. You can't even destroy them easily. And now, when the 2 are even fighting each other, we can't even. Exalted by May thought about something and gave a shocked look to Exalted High Ran. Exalted High Ran was a bit lost. Don't tell me that just the shockwaves of their fight was enough to damage the monitoring arrays. Not even we can do that. Exalted High Ran turned to look at the screen and stared at the black flash and Yilin's alarmed face. Even with Zhuo Fan's pale face, the flame did not get any closer. It was the Exalted that sprung into action. Exalted by May reacted as well and was shocked. You mean to tell me that black thing's ripple can destroy sacred stones? This never happened no matter how many times the azure flame or golden flame clashed. Yet it happened with the black flame. That meant this black flame was a cut above those other 2, a terrifying existence. But can Zhuo Fan control such power? Looking at Zhuo Fan shaking and spitting blood, Exalted by May tensed and got his answer. He can't for now, but since it was now out, he had to withstand its pressure to the end, unless he wanted the flame to lash out and destroy him. No wonder he never used it in his fight with Yilin till his spirit animal got heavily wounded. This was a move that put one's life on the line, only worth taking out when you wanted the other one deader than dead. It was going even further than Yilin burning his soul. If Zhuo Fan's move fizzled out, his soul would go down with it. If he succeeded, then Yilin and his soul and body combined form would be toast. One was bound to die here. High Ran saw this and sprung into action. Whoosh, with a flick of the hand, a black glow flashed and then a white tunnel appeared. Exalted High Ran went through it and entered the valley. The audience was speechless. Where's Exalted High Ran going now? They never saw the Exalted being nervous before. In the valley, Zhuo Fan kept puking blood, his body popping and spreading blood as well. Even so, he bore it. The dreadful thunder flame was so insidious it ate his body as well. His dragon soul was shaking, on the verge of crumbling under the thunder flame's power. Zhuo Fan grinned, despite it all, seeing the flames unable to touch him. There's always a way out in every crisis. The thunder was dangerous, but quite handy at the very least. Only with this dreadful power can I waste you, punk. Zhuo Fan narrowed his eyes and began to move his hands. His dragon soul jerked and slowly opened its maw. The thunder flame slowly moved from the forehead to its throat, yet they both looked ready to fall to the ground at the slightest breeze. To Yilin, though, it was pure horror. He was actually scared for once and backed away. Maybe it was the first time he felt something like this. This minute thunder flame was giving him the worst feeling he ever felt. Gulping, Yilin stared at Zhuo Fan, nervous and shaking. Zhuo Fan's signs finally drew to a close and he sported a nasty grin. It seems my risk paid off and you, brat, are going to suffer for it. Wraith Style's third move, Necro Dragon Screech, roar. The shockwave shook the world around as the dragon roared. The thunder flame turned into a snake in its throat and darted forth. It was a snake no bigger than a meter. In all of Zhuo Fan's Necro Dragon Screech he used, this was the worst looking by far. Yet this tiny snake gave Yilin the feeling of impending doom. Boom, the small black thunder flame struck like lightning. It entered Yilin's flames, then exploded into nothing. Yet it just kept on going, right for Yilin. What? A mere thunder flame is so strong. Squinting, Yilin now witnessed its power while also feeding his fears. That thing was incredibly deadly, no matter how tiny it looked. Yilin backed away, now soaked in sweat. He rushed to make signs and ignite his soul to bolster the golden flame around him. He formed around himself a dazzling barrier of flames which made him very pale. He knew better than anyone just how powerful his flames were. Even so, he knew the tiny thunder flame had to be even worse. Yilin gnashed his teeth, but his body kept on shaking. Wu Qinkyu was filled with worry. It was the first time he saw his prideful junior brother so afraid. Exalted Bai Mei was stupefied as the flames were gone in a blink. The thunder flame was even stronger than he thought. The black flame shouldn't have been able to do that, since the golden flames were unleashed through Yilin's burning of his soul. Its power was just short of blowing one's soul up, yet even so it still did it. Thank God, that old timer is going, or Yilin might be a goner. Seeing the black thunder flame shot forward, Exalted Bai Mei gasped. The audience was simply slack-jawed. None saw Zhuo Fan's comeback to be so utterly overwhelming. He didn't just turn the tables, he even forced the enemy to face death. It was only made more apparent after Zhuo Fan and Kaior barely managed to stop the attack last time. When Tao was dumbfounded and sighed, "Tianxing, I think I get what you mean. Brother Zhuo isn't one to be messed with. I never thought that angering him would result in taking out that deadly thing. I bet Yilin must be feeling the worst right now. He's facing something that shirked off his attack that he burned his soul to unleash. I didn't know he was hiding this either." Zai Tianxing shook his head. Zhuo Fan's bag of tricks is bottomless. No one ever knows what his final ace is. All the mystery revolving around him is what makes everyone fear him. Only when fighting him for real will people feel true terror. Wen Tao gave him a look and then nodded. Yilin's devotion to his path was strong, but even deadlier was Zhuo Fan, who had endless tricks up his sleeves. Then the outcome, whoosh, a crisp sound entered the people's ears and the thunder flame was right at Yilin, cracking space on its way. Zhuo Fan stared with a smile. The people were tense and excited. Exalted Bai Mei was frowning in worry. What's taking that old coot so long? But no one was more frantic than Yilin, having to face the thunder flame. His face hardened and his brow knitted as his hands made a sign, shaking as he stared at the deadly thunder flame. The golden flame around him was everything he had put out. All his power was now on display, focused on defense. He had given all he had and now he was pale. Yet even this was of no comfort to him, feeling not even this was enough in this matter of life and death. But that was all he could muster. The two thus unleashed their very last drop of power, the outcome about to be decided in this final clash. The two looked grave, waiting for this to end. Whoosh, the black thunder flame finally struck Yilin's flaming defense. Yilin's heart tightened and the golden flames erupted. The audience looked on tense. Zhuo Fan's face fell as he glanced at the unconscious Kaior, waiting for the finale. Bam! The loud explosion destroyed Yilin's wall. He shook from the blow and spat out blood but kept his fearful eyes forward. The black thunder flame snake was coming for him. "I'm done for," Yilin felt crushed in the face of such terrible power. "Junior brother," Wu Qinkyu cried out without any use. He wouldn't be able to help even if he got there. The others looked on tense. Exalted Bai Mei frowned harder. Only Zhuo Fan had on an evil smirk, his eyes glinting with joy. "That's what you get for harming my daughter, you prick." Seizing Dragon Claw, an aged voice gave signal to the appearance of a faint dragon claw, grabbing the thunder flame snake and stopping it from skewering Yilin. The thunder flame halted on the spot and Yilin could breathe easy at long last. "I'm saved." Zhuo Fan frowned and saw an old man approaching. The people looked on in shock. What's Exalted Hai Ran doing there? Then it was made obvious as he saved Yilin. Yilin must be somebody to get an Exalted to save him. Exalted Bai Mei eased a breath at Exalted Hai Ran's success. Thank God he made it, or Zhuo Fan would have finished Yilin off. What's the meaning of this, Exalted Hai Ran? Is the time up yet? Zhuo Fan glared at the old man in a foul mood. Exalted Hai Ran shook his head. "Kid, the outcome is obvious. What does it matter now? Double Dragon Gathering has rules. Unless one side admits defeat or is crushed, can the other win? Exalted should be more clear on this than me. Zhuo Fan huffed. Exalted, the Western lands are watching. You can't go about doing what you will. You'll damage Double Dragon Manor's name. Exalted Hai Ran's face twitched. The brat is so stubborn. I get you want Yilin's head on a platter, but must you mock me with the competition? Exalted Hai Ran knew Zhuo Fan's anger came from his hurt spirit animal. He would need to be diplomatic in this if he wanted to appease him. So he gave Yilin a look. Call it quits already, boy. Face the facts. Besides, you already won by getting saved. Getting his hint, Yilin turned to Zhuo Fan, yet he couldn't for the life of him open his mouth. As a sacred beast inheritor, there were no quitters, only dead ones who lost. The golden flames around Yilin were still shielding him, his eyes still thirsting for battle. Exalted Hai Ran sighed. Pig-headed, a bang sounded just then, and Exalted Hai Ran's claw made the thunder flame snake explode. The thunder flame snake was soon reduced to nothing, yet a sliver of black slipped through, shooting for Yilin. It entered his body in that instant. Explosions came one after another, followed by flashes of lightning. After a long torrent of blood was spewed out, Yilin looked on with wide and incredulous eyes as he feebly said, "That thing is brutal. I can't fight it even if I stake my life. Master, I lost." Plop, Yilin fell in his own blood, shocking everyone. Exalted Hai Ran's hand shook, his face a mask of shock. Even though it was under his control, a bit escaped and entered Yilin. What is that thing? Exalted Hai Ran glanced at Zhuo Fan in fear. Dragons were the strongest in Western lands, and no one could take a life around them unless they allowed it. Not even Danking Shen could do it. Evidently, this incident left everyone gasping, even the exalted. Zhuo Fan, not even in the ethereal stage mind you, released some black snake that no matter how strong Exalted Hai Ran still caught it. It was plain for all to see. Yet even so, when Exalted Hai Ran felt in control, the unexpected happened. His claw was overcome in the explosion, and the one he was supposed to save got hit hard. It left the entire crowd picking their jaws off the floor. Zhuo Fan is a frickin' savage. He actually got to hurt someone under the Exalted's protection in front of everyone. This has never happened. Yanmo chuckled. The entire Western lands are going to know him now. One day, he'll even be the best in Western lands as well. The crowd started talking to each other in hushed tones. Mystical heaven sex girls were gesticulating and clamoring. Only Xuan Sheiyu went dark there, his heart consumed by rage. This accursed bastard still got on top. The entire scene was noisy, all shocked by what they witnessed. Exalted Bai Mei stood there for a moment, lost. Even he found it hard to believe, even with that old-timer's intervention, it would still end up like this. I should have gone there as well. But then he shook his head. Ha ha ha, hindsight truly is 20-20. With how fast it all happened, it wouldn't make a difference if I went too. The one to blame is that weird thunder flame, able to destroy the claw. The question now, though, is Yilin alive? Bai Mei looked on with worry, since this was his future disciple. Junior brother, Wu Qinkyu rushed as he saw Yilin collapsing and held him up. Exalted Hai Ran was still too out of it to react. Now, when he came to, he glanced at Zhuo Fan with utter disbelief. If he has the power to ruin my move now, what will his future hold? A true battle of freaks, with limitless potential. PFF. Zhuo Fan saw Yilin was going down and sported a most pleased smile. Then he puked blood and went down next to Kaior, feeble and pale. The black thunder flame was damn strong, but to withstand its power, Zhuo Fan's body had to pay the toll. He was only standing by sheer willpower, and now that it was over, he fell down. Exalted Hai Ran understood why as well, choosing to hurt himself if it meant taking down the enemy. Zhuo Fan may be just as wounded at Yilin because of it. Oh, Yilin, is he dead? Finally getting his wits about him, Exalted Hai Ran rushed over. Wu Qinkyu, how's your junior brother? Thank you for your concern, Exalted. Junior brother is in a very critical state, but he still has a breath left. He should recover. Wu Qinkyu bowed. Exalted Hai Ran nodded and then heard Zhuo Fan sighing. Humph, he still breathes after all. It's all that damn old coot's fault, ruining most of the thunder flame's power and leaving just a sliver. Hey, that old coot is right here. Don't think I can't hear just 'cause you're mumbling. Are you trying to make me look even worse? Exalted Hai Ran glared at him, then shook his head. You and Yilin are rare talents in Western lands. We don't want to see any of you die. I might have come to Yilin's rescue, but I would have done the same if it were you instead. Zhuo Fan simply lay there in silence. He knew the instant the old guy showed up that getting revenge for Kaior and killing Yilin was almost impossible. But even he didn't think the thunder flame was so nifty it escaped Exalted Hai Ran's control and struck that punk half dead. Now his anger was mostly abated. That left Kaior's worst state as the problem. The beam of light showed up once more in the valley. Exalted High Ran was the first to walk to it. Time's up. The fight's verdict is up to the judge. Then he was gone. Wu Qinkyu glanced at Zhuo Fan with a complex look. He just sighed and signaled for his team to retreat. Demon Scheming Sect's disciples rushed over for Zhuo Fan's orders. After they got the thunder ring and put Kaior inside, someone helped him go through the light. All soon left the valley, leaving only Danking Shen hiding in a corner. Kid, you're the first in history to wound someone in front of Exalted High Ran, ha ha ha. Danking Shen vanished from his spot as well. Clap when the teams were back, they were showered in applause. Yilin and Zhuo Fan's fight had been an amazing display of power, the best of the best. The people had also come to terms with who was the future best in Western lands as well. Cough, 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 the judge cleared his throat, looking from the unconscious Yilin on Wu Qinkyu's back to the weary Zhuo Fan held by Qi Lang. I have been a judge at Double Dragon Gathering for 5 times. I had seen my fair share of disciples, but only you filled me with hope for the Western lands. You've done well, ha ha ha. The judge then turned serious. It's time to pass the verdict. In this Ultimate Clarity Sect versus Demon Scheming Sect challenge fight, Ultimate Clarity Sect came back with 1 wounded and Demon Scheming Sect came back with 1 wounded. The result is a draw. Wait, Wu Qinkyu cried out. They all watched as he looked at Zhuo Fan. The team battle's outcome is dependent on Yilin and Zhuo Fan's fight. Junior brother will most likely not like it, but a loss is a loss. Yilin lost to Zhuo Fan, and that means Ultimate Clarity Sect lost to Demon Scheming Sect. The judge froze, then nodded. Wu Qinkyu, the loss of a team battle affects the entire sect. Will your elders approve of this? As far as I know, you're one of the few sects that did not come with a venerable. It shows how confident the sect is in you. Ultimate Clarity Sect has always been carefree, not after fame and wealth. A loss is a loss. There's nothing more to it. Twisting our path just for a bit of something goes against our sect's teachings. Wu Qinkyu held his head high as he declared, earning everyone's admiration. The judge nodded. In that case, the first of the 9 sects will be. The judge paused for effect, looking at Demon Scheming Sect. The fiends were overexcited now, never believing their eyes. They were at the top. Then a cold voice came, wait, now the eyes darted on Zhuo Fan. Now what? The judge frowned. Zhuo Fan said, nothing really, just that we can't take the top position. Brother Zhuo, it's what you get for winning. Zhuo Fan waved his hand at Wu Qinkyu. Brother Wu, since it's a team battle, it is 10 against 10. Yilin and my fight was just a single fight. If I still had some fight left afterwards, then I would have taken it, of course, ha ha ha. However, you can all see my state, and the rest of our disciples are no match. This team battle is our loss. I may not be a nice guy, but I am open in my actions. I don't take more than I deserve. I can't take it, or I'll see it as charity and will be nothing more than an insult. Wu Qinkyu shook and cupped his hands. Brother Zhu, you may be a demonic cultivator, but you truly are a gentleman. No, I just have a mean guy's pride, ha ha ha, Zhuo Fan chuckled. The judge looked from one to the other and nodded. Good, since you both don't care about it, Zhuo Fan's words make a lot more sense as to how this team battle ended. Thus, I shall declare Ultimate Clarity Sect as the slightly better victor. The crowd exploded in applause, not just for the nominal winner, Ultimate Clarity Sect, but for Zhuo Fan as well, this soft meanie. Zhuo Fan's open manner of only taking what he deserved let the people see that nasty demonic cultivators had their own elegance. Demon Soul Sect nodded, looking at Zhuo Fan as the model example of a demonic cultivator. Yanmo sighed as he watched him. Even demons have their path. Maybe I've been indulging too much as of late, ha ha ha. Sister King Cheng, he just gave up the glory of being at the top. Those venerables of theirs have to be fuming mad. Danner batted her purty eyes in shock. This chance may come only once. Maybe the next time they come to Double Dragon Gathering, they won't get any higher. Chu Qingcheng smiled, her gaze soft as she was reminded of 100 Pill meeting. That's who he is. He's the same as before. The girls noticed what she meant and nodded. As they looked at Zhuo Fan, their gazes were taking different meanings. Only Xuan Shaiyu was raging inside. Zhuo Fan's win had earned everyone's approval. He even refused fame. Funny how this was exactly Mystical Heaven Sect's aim when they plotted against Demon Scheming Sect. There were already people whispering and mocking Mystical Heaven Sect. Some even reached his ears. It only worked to make his heart rage harder. Zhuo Fan had been up to his tricks many times in his fight, yet Mystical Heaven Sect only did it once. Now Zhuo Fan was hailed as a hero and them as hypocrites. How is that fair? He had no clue, though, that Zhuo Fan was no goody-goody but was cunning and vile. Even so, he had principles that he would not cross. This was what got everyone's attention. Xuan Sheiyu's side, on the other hand, was a righteous sect that had deviated from their path. That was why they were given dirtier looks than the demonic cultivators. That showed that an open meanie was better than a shameless hypocrite to make friends with. It was all because the former had a code they knew he followed, while the latter could stab you in the back anytime, anywhere they saw fit. Though these reasons weren't noticed by many, their basic instinct made them feel who was the better choice. So the voice of the people hailed Zhuo Fan, a demonic cultivator, while it denounced Xuan Sheiyu, a righteous cultivator, the hypocrite. That old coot, he's been 5 times a judge at double dragon gatherings, yet this is the first time I see him so biased. Ultimate Clarity Sect is the winner and that's that. What's with that slightly better, ha ha ha. Exalted Hyran chuckled. Exalted by May smiled. He meant to say that this was Zhuo Fan's win, but since it's a team battle, Ultimate Clarity Sect has 9 more members that are slightly better than Zhuo Fan's current state. That's why they won. He's clearly giving your demonic disciple some fame. Old timer, I wasn't going to say he was siding with you, but you started it, haha, being petty even after looking good. How is it looking good? When Zhuo Fan enters Double Dragon Manor, it will be the 2 of us who teach him. You're in it as well, please. Exalted by May rolled his eyes and teased, he's a demonic cultivator right up your alley. My teachings to him can only be assistance. The one to truly learn from me can only be Yi Lin. He might have lost, but under my wing he will soar. You better remember our deal then, old timer. Of course, the 2 will fight again to see who's better. Exalted High Ran smiled. Exalted by May nodded, good. We still don't know who among us is better after so many years, so we will let the disciples decide, ha ha ha. The 2 burst out laughing. The judge saw the noise around him and raised his hand for silence. Western Land's Double Dragon gathering has now come to a close. Next comes tallying up the score for singles and team fights to assess the sex ranks as well as see the 10 best disciples in Western Lands. The judge shouted with a cold gaze, making everyone's mood turn heavy. The Double Dragon gathering was over, and that meant settling the sect's future income and development. It affected the future of the disciples who came here as well. The judge looked at the 2 sect's disciples in stage and welcomed them. The assessment will take time, so you can step down to get some rest. The disciples cupped their hands before the judge before going to their group. Back to Demon Scheming Sect's side, Kui Lang put the wounded Zhuo Fan on a recliner to rest. Fiend Yang waltzed over with a grumbling look. Hey, Steward Zhuo, what the hell were you thinking? You won yet still passed on the reward. Do you have any idea just how much the top of the 9 sects earns? The other venerables sighed, feeling this rare chance slipping them by. Brother, you just let Ultimate Clarity Sect get their win without a care. But do you know how much it pains me, how much the sect lost? With this win we might have gone from lower 3 sect to middle 3 sect, then to superior 3 sect, and then to heaven. Are you willing? Zhuo Fan mocked as he finished Fiend Yang's speech. Fiend Yang started. Zhuo Fan rolled his eyes. The tallest tree gets the wind. Demon Scheming Sect was but a tiny lower 3 sect, yet it suddenly became the top dog. Don't you think that's highly dangerous? Fiend Yang's fat shook as they saw the implications. People must have self-awareness as do sects. Without power to support such status, they'll crumble. Zhuo Fan squinted and looked at the judge, discussing with the gatekeepers about the score. In terms of Double Dragon Gathering's interests, I don't want it to get too high too fast in the Double Dragon Gathering. Wealth can be a burden. Demon Scheming Sect is too weak and can't take the pressure, becoming an easy target. Fiend Yang nodded. Right. I finally get that you thought about it a lot. We can't be the top sect or it will be too dangerous. Just how can great venerables like us be so blind? For shame. Zhuo Fan, thank God you were the one in charge in this Double Dragon Gathering. Fiend Yang wiped his brow and sighed. The other venerables bobbed their heads. They could already see what would have happened after becoming the top of the totem pole, assaulted from all directions. They also held Zhuo Fan in high esteem. No wonder sect leader gave him his badge. He made the right choice. The venerables' big picture couldn't hold a candle to a kid's. The 3 felt more ashamed now. The reason they followed Zhuo Fan so far was because of the badge. They never would have agreed to feeding the zombie pill to the disciple otherwise. But now, they were in full agreement with Zhuo Fan's actions. The more critical the situation became, the cooler Zhuo Fan was. His gaze looked farther than these old bags of bones, who only had seniority on their side. At the center of the stage, the 3 elders were holding a silk sheet and were constantly writing and calculating the sect's scores. All were watching with tense faces. However, that did not apply to the Demon Scheming Sect. They did not care much about those 3 oldies and swept the crowd. Zhuo Fan pointed out as he explained, no one must become fat in one hall or the consequences would not be worth the gain. In the Double Dragon Gathering, we have earned a good result, enough to support the sect's future and development for a long time. So in the end, our ranking doesn't matter. What we need to focus on is doing that without outside interference. That depends on checks and balances between the major sects present here. That's where we need to focus. getting to be an underdog in the double dragon gathering for a huge reward is only a small part of our gain in this competition. The real win is getting friendly with the sects. Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed and pointed at each one. Among the middle three sects, Demon Soul sect owes us a favor and should be friendly. The Sword God sect became friends through battle and should be a good ally. As for the superior three sects, although I heavily wounded Yi Lin, Wu Qinkyu is a man of honor and should be easy to get close to. Hellion Flame, by definition, we have a little scuffle with them, but I don't see any hatred in Yan Mo at us, so we can consider them neutral. Zhuo Fan then frowned as he decided with a sigh, Hellion Flame can be approached. What? His team cried out, Zhuo Fan, you almost killed Yan Mo last time. How can we get close when he loathes us? Zhuo Fan nodded and said, that's called judging a book by its cover. Yes, Hellion Flame can be approached. While last time we fought, meeting Hellion Flame again, Yan Mo and the others did not hate us, fighting us just like everyone else. Although I don't know why that happened, I am sure there's no bad blood between us anymore. They say love and hate are both sides of the same coin. If such deep hatred is resolved, we'll become even closer. Clapping, Zhuo Fan came to the last names. There are 4 sects we need to befriend: Ultimate Clarity Sect, Hellion Flame, Sword God Sect, and Demon Soul Sect. They may very well help us avoid many troubles later on, but we only made friends with 4 disciples. It's not their venerables. How can they ask their sects to help us? Qi Gang asked hesitatingly. The others looked at Zhuo Fan for an answer. Zhuo Fan grinned, his eyes sparkling. Ever heard of growing into one's role? That means becoming friends before they become big to help you later. Every participant here is but a disciple, but all are pillars of their sect, especially the ones returning alive. They will become eminent figures. All those old-timers back home are just going to offend these future big shots. As long as the sect's foundation ain't threatened, they will listen. Especially with Wu Qinkyu and Yi Lin, they can even decide the sect's future. That's why it's totally worth getting closer to them. But what trouble could we possibly have? Yue frowned. Zhuo Fan shook his head and patted her head. Lass, you really have holes for eyes. In these days of double dragon gathering, haven't you realized how many toes we crushed? We need to keep our guard up around the Universal Righteous Sect, Heaven Trailing Sect, Mystical Heaven Sect, and Beast Taming Sect. As to why they hate us, I'm sure you can tell. Sigh, if I knew this, I wouldn't have gone against them. Fiend Yang shook his head. It's unclear if those new friends can be of help, but those 4, we really pissed them off. Nothing good will come of it. Zhuo Fan rolled his eyes and mocked, you must be delusional. Joining the double dragon gathering, you can offend anyone in the death matches. It's the only way to go forward. The question is who to offend and who to get close to. The good thing is the sects we chose are all stronger than our enemies and far more trustworthy. The Universal Righteous Sect, for instance, throws away its own people. Even if we hadn't messed with them, I still wouldn't want to get anywhere near them. The rest nodded in unison. Moreover, there's no absolute neutrality in this world. There are allies and enemies. Absolute neutrality will only make you a target. That's why through these battles, I was choosing allies and your future enemies. Us, everyone looked at Zhuo Fan in shock. Zhuo Fan grinned, you're going to know this sooner or later, so I might as well tell you now. I've had a talk with the sect leader before coming here. After Double Dragon Gathering, I will be leaving the sect. What I say now is my last piece of advice for the labor office. Although I don't much care for the labor office, but I raised it and don't want to see it in danger of destruction. You will be the sect's future big shots and need to remember your allies and enemies. Otherwise, the demon scheming sect will crumble after it sticks out of the crowd. Wait, why are you leaving? You got all the credit for the Double Dragon Gathering and sect leader Ren will name you as the next. Fiend Yang cried. The others were anxious and nodded as well. Zhuo Fan might be a bit harsh, but without him, there wouldn't be a them. This made all of them appreciate him more. Zhuo Fan smiled and waved. You don't have to say it. I only came with the demon scheming sect because of a deal. Now that I have finished my part, it's time to head home. Home, they all looked at Zhuo Fan in shock as their hearts were overcome with sadness. Steward Zhuo has his own home. He never saw the demon scheming sect as one. Fiend Yang sighed and nodded. Then we won't force the issue. But remember, from now on, you don't have just one home. All the disciples, elders, and venerables at the labor office won't ever forget you. No matter when you'll return, you'll always be Steward Zhuo. The labor office never had a steward to begin with, but ever since Steward Zhuo came, everyone always called you that. It sounds just like a clan's. Brothers should be closer to stand united and repel outsiders. Yue Ling looked at him with a soft gaze. The others also cherished Zhuo Fan. Zhuo Fan's eyelids shook. He didn't care much for that place. He only saw it as a base to seize power. But he had to admit that he left something there after all. From helping Yuer and Qi Gang recover their cultivation, to establishing elite labor office, laughing at the inner sect, all of it did make the disciples gain self-respect and power. The labor office was a tight group now, no different from a home. but it was not what he yearned for. Zhuo Fan took a deep breath and smiled. His journey in the demon scheming sect had come to an end. And it wasn't such a bad trip either. The double dragon gathering scores have been set. Please check them. Exalted. The elders on the stage had finished and they bowed as the judge declared. Exalted High Ran took the silken sheet and nodded alongside Exalted Bai Mei. The judge turned around at the 9 sects and shouted, "The 9 sects ranks at the double dragon gathering have been set." Disciples step on the stage to hear Exalted's words. Yes, they all cupped their hands and assembled on the stage with hard looks. Even the heavily wounded Zhuo Fan was helped up. Who fell, who rose. All was written clearly on that thin silk sheet. Everyone looked up at the highest seats and at what Exalted High Ran held with deep frowns, gulping and sweating in anxiety as their nails dug into their hands. Only the demon scheming sect was chill. They just didn't care about the ranks. Just like Zhuo Fan said, a weak sect like theirs shouldn't aim too high. Without high expectations, there was nothing to be tense about. They were more sad about their leader, Zhuo Fan, leaving them. I shall now declare the 9 sects' positions in the double dragon gathering. Exalted High Ran cleared his throat. We begin with the beast taming sect, the last in the lower 3 sects. Exalted High Ran's declaration earned a mocking look from the crowd. At the start of the lower 3 sects stage, Zhuo Fan wiped them out in one punch. Even their elder was culled soon after. If they wasn't dead last, who would be? They were indeed shit out of luck to meet a freak like Zhuo Fan right off the bat. Zhuo Fan's power was soon made public in a fantastic display. Their demise, obvious haha, the last among the middle 3 sects. Exalted High Ran continued and the people tuned in. Heaven Trailing Sect's young master was even more attentive. That was their spot since coming here, though unclear if they kept it after all the changes. They were sweating now, eyes bloodshot, as they awaited Exalted High Ran to say those little words. It was never meant to be though, as Exalted High Ran said, "Demon Soul Sect." The Han brothers shook their heads. They planned on moving up at least a spot, but ended up moving a spot backward. They had no idea how they were going to break this to their harsh old man. While they were hesitating, Ren Kong was frozen in place. If Demon Soul Sect got last place in the middle 3 sects, then Heaven Trailing Sect was in the lower 3 sects. The young master felt like crying. Getting home would get his dad to thrash him. How could we fall so low? The last among the superior 3 sects. Ignoring those 2 sects' sadness, Exalted High Ran kept on declaring Sword God Sect. When Tao's team was stunned, then went wild with joy. They actually upgraded their class from middle 3 sect to superior 3 sect. They thought that by losing to Zhuo Fan and being wounded in the challenge stage, they lost their chance. Now it seemed that they did it. Even if it was the last spot, it was still worth an achievement. Zhuo Fan's side stuck to their ally-making policy and congratulated them, when Tao kept cupping his hands in reply with a beaming smile. Though one sect's fortune was another's sadness. Universal Righteous Sect's Zhao Deju was dumbstruck. For Sword God Sect to go up, one had to go down. As to who that was, it went without saying that it was the weakest. Zhao Deju's lips shivered, feeling endless sadness. This was the worst performance in all double dragon gatherings. How was he going to explain it back home? Looking aside, Exalted High Ran showed a mocking smile as he continued. Lower 3 sects mid-position, Mystical Heaven Sect, Xu and Sheiyu and the Elder eased a breath. This was the usual result at least. Though they failed to be the first lower 3 sect, the girls didn't care much about it. Those glistening pairs of eyes only watched Zhuo Fan, as if the demon scheming sect's spot was far more important. Middle 3 sect's second spot, Universal Righteous Sect. Exalted High Ran looked right at Zhao Deju when he shouted. The crowd was in an uproar. A great superior 3 sect had not only fallen from grace but went down to ranks. The Universal Righteous Sect's elders were bound to go mad from the news. While the people did not know if they would, they did hear Zhao Deju go insane first as he argued, "Hold on, Exalted, what is this? Universal Righteous Sect is a superior 3 sect, how did it fall so much? Humph, you should be asking your scheming mind." Exalted High Ran disdained. When you fought Hellion Flame and Ultimate Clarity Sect, you always held back so much so you earned little points. In the Superior 3 Sect's challenge stage, you rooted Demon Scheming Sect, but in the end, your score dropped to rock bottom, earning your current rank as second Middle 3 Sect. Zhao Deju shook like a leaf, his butt hitting the ground hard from shock. How can this be? The points for fighting in the Superior 3 Sect singles are far more than in the other categories. How? You're right, but that's because the Superior 3 Sect's disciples are much stronger. But that only means by forfeiting the deduction is even greater. Exalted Bai Mei's eyes were sharp as he said flatly, "Your great scheming has brought you this low. I hope that as a second Middle 3 Sect you and your sect will calm down and focus on your path and not scheme for fame and wealth. As you know, scheming comes with risks. If it fails, you're the one to suffer for it." Zhao Deju sat there on the ground, lost, not even hearing his advice. The Exalted shook their heads and Exalted High Ran continued. Superior 3 sects mid-position, Hellion Flame. Yanmo nodded and eased a breath. At least they kept their spot. They were really scared the Demon Scheming sect would have taken it. And now, it's time to announce the top positions. Exalted High Ran finally came to the final 3 names. The crowd went quiet and waited with bated breaths. Lower 3 sects top position, Heaven Trailing Sect. Exalted High Ran's shout pierced Ren Kong's ears. He had seen it coming, but it still came as a blow. He was shaking so hard the breeze might topple him. It was too much for him to take. In the end, he chose to glare at Zhuo Fan. It's all that punk's fault. I won't ever let you go. Just wait, you'll get yours. Ren Kong's eyes flashed as he started making his plans. Middle 3 sects top position, Demon Scheming Sect. Exalted High Ran finally uttered the greatest underdog's name, but the gang were all smiles. That threw the crowd off. Even the Exalted were curious. They got such restraint. They were clearly something more to keep their cool after hearing they went from lower 3 sects to top middle 3 sects. Or was it the least of their expectations, since they aimed for superior 3 sects? How would they know the Demon Scheming Sect team's mood was more affected by Zhuo Fan's leaving? Zhuo Fan had got them all the way here without a scratch. Now that he left, they couldn't be happy even if they wanted to. Shrugging, the Exalted scratched their heads. Exalted High Ran declared the last spot, Superior 3 Sects top position, Ultimate Clarity Sect. The king in the Western lands, Ultimate Clarity Sect, had never fallen off his throne. But everyone, even Ultimate Clarity Sect, were clear how dangerous it was to maintain it. Giving Zhuo Fan a long look, Wu Qinkyu sighed, I hope the next double dragon gathering we won't meet that freak again. Wu Qinkyu wiped his brow, recalling the fight. The 9 sects now had their new status. What followed next was what they were waiting for. The share of sacred stones the Double Dragon Manor bestowed at Double Dragon Gathering. Exalted High Ran sat down and Exalted by May began. According to Double Dragon Gathering's results, the sacred stones shall be split as follows. The top Superior 3 Sect, Ultimate Clarity Sect, will receive 100,000, the Hellion Flame 50,000 and Sword God Sect 30,000. Everyone was shocked. So much, only the elders that had been to past Double Dragon gatherings shook their heads. Much, that goes to the winner. Double Dragon Manor ain't so generous to losers. Sect receives 10,000, the Universal Righteous Sect receives 5,000 and the Demon Soul Sect 3,000. Exalted by May's shout echoed in everyone's ears, shocking them to the core. The middle 3 sects had received so little compared to the superior 3 sects, only a little over 10,000 in total. The people that thought Double Dragon Manor was generous changed their thinking. They're so restrained with the sacred stones. The rewards for the middle 3 sects took a sharp decline. Then what about the lower 3 sects? Some were happy, some were despairing. The Demon Scheming Sect had only ever got a bunch of scraps of sacred stones whenever it came to Double Dragon Gathering. They hardly had anything to develop when they used most of them in the sect's defenses. Only this time they got a whole 10,000 of them. The fiends were ecstatic. It was something they would never get even in dozens of Double Dragon Gatherings combined. They really won big this time. The Demon Scheming Sect felt they were loaded all of a sudden. These stones would help develop the sect for the decades to come, and finally shed their former lower 3 sect self. All became possible under Zhuo Fan's leadership. They looked at him with respect and admiration, yet it only made his leaving that much harder to bear. However, Zhuo Fan did not care about it at all. Ignoring the fact he cleaned Double Dragon Manor's sacred mine that had around 1 million of those glittering baubles, the stuff he got from Kunpeng should last him for lifetimes. As the Demon Scheming Sect was cheering at their wealth, the Universal Righteous Sect found itself dirt poor. 5,000 sacred stones were substantial to anyone, but the Universal Righteous Sect had been a superior 3 sect and earned 30,000 in their last spot there. As a large sect, they were used to having a large treasury to fund their disciples and elders, but just these scraps now hardly made the cut. Until the next Double Dragon Gathering hundreds of years from now, they'd have to tighten that belt a lot. Maybe they would weaken so much they would never reach superior 3 sects again. The dark-faced Zhao Deju felt like crying. We lost too much this time. How was he to know the greatest underdog, Demon Scheming Sect, along with Sword God Sect, would reach such a level? If he had known, he'd just fought with all he had and gotten those points instead of falling so much. Vile demonic cultivators, it's all because we saved our strength to deal with you that I fell so much. Just you wait, Zhao Deju glared at Zhuo Fan, totally forgetting Exalted by May's words. Exalted by May shook his head and sighed. He's a lost cause. The Demon Soul Sect had fallen as well, but just by 1 spot. They only lost 2,000 sacred stones, something they could take. Unlike the one that had it worse, they were quite calm about it. The Han brothers looked at Renkong to see his dark look as he listened to Exalted by May's words. The top of lower 3 sects, Heaven Trailing Sect receives 1,000 sacred stones, Mystical Heaven Sect receives 500, and Beast Taming Sect 300. This concludes the Double Dragon Gathering Sacred Stone distribution. Thank you, Exalted. Everyone cupped their hands and bowed, even as some were angry, some were happy, and some were dejected. Mystical Heaven Sect's Elder Yun glanced at Ren Kong and saw his anger. Young Master Ren, that vile demon scheming sect has just got a lot of sacred stones, but they don't have the power of a middle 3 sect. They'll need at least 100 years to grow into their new status. Plenty of time for our chance. Does Mystical Heaven Sect think so as well? Ren Kong glanced over with a vague smile as he spoke. Elder Yun picked up on something and probed. Young Master Ren already has a plan. Humph, not mine. Someone already has his eye on that punk, waiting for the right moment. When the time comes, I hope Mystical Heaven Sect will join us and not run away. Elder Yun shook and frowned. He only wanted to comfort the young master of the top 3 guardian sects and get them to push down the speedy growth of the demon scheming sect. However, he never thought the Heaven Trailing Sect already had a plan to deal with him and wanted the Mystical Heaven Sect to join them. Just what are they planning? If it gets out of hand, Double Dragon Manor will step in and Heaven Trailing Sect will be finished. Mystical Heaven Sect didn't want to go down as well. Elder Yun frowned as he pondered. Ren Kong saw his hesitation and said, "No worries, I know what you're afraid of. Double Dragon Manor doesn't want Western Land's power to drop and is on the lookout for any conflict between sects. But you should know not everyone's house affairs are so easily settled." "You mean?" Elder Yun was stunned. Ren Kong cast a nasty look at Zhuo Fan as he smiled eerily. Even in Demon Scheming Sect, not everyone took a liking to this punk. When the time comes, the Demon Scheming Sect would fail its duties so much, the Exalted can't do anything, unless they don't want to lead the Western lands. Elder Yun pondered and nodded. Next are the individual scores in the Double Dragon Gathering for the best 10 disciples in Western lands and their rewards. Exalted by Mei and Exalted Hai Ran spoke up. The people turned solemn and eager. Yanmo, Zai Tiansheng, and the other competitive ones were looking forward to it as well. Exalted Hai Ran stood up and spoke. In this Double Dragon Gathering, the 10th disciple in Western lands is 3rd Young Master Han from Demon Soul Sect. 100 sacred stones. 3rd Young Master Han was stunned. He never thought he'd be among the ranking. Exalted Hai Ran continued. The 9th place goes to 2nd Young Master Han, 200 sacred stones. The brothers shouted in joy. They both made it and now had a chance of getting into Double Dragon Manor. The 8th place goes to Ren Kong, 300 sacred stones. 7th place Zai Tiansheng, 400. 6th place Han Yunfeng, 500. 5th place Wen Tao, 600. 4th place Zhao Deju, 700. 3rd place Yan Mo, 800. 2nd place Wu Qinkyu, 900. 1st place. Exalted Hai Ran paused for effect, getting everyone excited. The 2 strongest in this Double Dragon Gathering were Zhuo Fan and Yi Lin, but none of their names was among those 9 places. Did Yi Lin die? Is that why Exalted Hai Ran didn't announce him? The people started looking dejected at this though inside. So young and so strong, what a shame. Then again, it's all his bad luck's fault for meeting one worse than himself. There's always someone stronger out there. Exalted Hai Ran continued at long last. 1st place Yi Lin, 1,000 sacred stones. What? At this news, the crowd was aboil, then confused eyes focused on Zhuo Fan. Why didn't the final winner get a spot as well but the loser did? Does the Double Dragon Manor have some shady agenda for the Double Dragon Gathering? But this is too shady. You think we're so blind we can't see the outcome? They recalled how Exalted Hai Ran rescued Yi Lin, and they started making wild guesses that Yi Lin had something to do with the Exalted to be shielded, thus forcing the best in Western lands, Zhuo Fan, to be a crownless king. From the moment Yi Lin fell, everyone saw Zhuo Fan as the number 1. Even if he wasn't officially recognized, everyone saw him as such. All looked at the Exalted Double Dragons with doubt and suspicion. What strings are you pulling here? The Exalted shared a look, knowing what they were thinking. The Double Dragon Manor, which was renowned for being fair for thousands of years, was now facing everyone's doubts because of one brat. They had to work hard to build up their image, only for it to collapse in an instant before they could even explain why. This only showed just how much Zhuo Fan grew in their eyes. Such charisma had the Exalted appreciating him more. Exalted, why isn't Zhuo Fan among the top 10 disciples? Wu Qinkyu bowed and asked. The crowd grew noisier as their doubts mounted. Exalted Hai Ran didn't say it. It is Double Dragon Manor's rule. Exalted Hai Ran made it so no one could challenge his decision again. None wanted to offend the strongest in Western lands. Is it? However, Wu Qinkyu smiled, bowing again. Since it's double dragon manners rule, I won't pry, but I ask Exalted to take down Yi Lin's and my name as well. What? The crowd was speechless from shock. Wu Qinkyu continued, Exalted, I just don't want my name to be on a meaningless ranking. I wouldn't want to disgrace double dragon manners rankings. With junior brother's temper, I think you will want the same. So you mean our ranking was unfair and dishonors you? Exalted Hai Ran growled. The anger the crowd felt caused them to shiver. Wu Qinkyu shook his head, but the meaning was obvious. Ha ha ha, Exalted, how can a disciple from the Ultimate Clarity sect say something like that? I just felt junior brother, and I will only dishonor double dragon manners ranking by being on it. If it's possible, I hope that we are taken off. The crowd gasped as to the meaning. This kid is being sarcastic, saying that Zhuo Fan isn't on the list, and so he doesn't want to be on it either. By saying he dishonors the ranking, he is criticizing it for being unfair and doesn't want to stay on it. The people showed endless admiration for Wu Qinkyu's courage to speak up against the Exalted. Zhuo Fan felt the same, just like I thought Wu Qinkyu is worth befriending. Ha ha ha, since none want to, then I'll be the first in Western lands. Then came sudden laughter that caught everyone's attention. It was Yanmo. Giving Wu Qinkyu and Zhuo Fan a vile smile, Yanmo shrugged. However, being called a king among these people is so boring. It's better I step out as well. Without a worthy opponent, I'd only slack off and get further and further behind. Ha ha ha, brother Yanmo is mocking everyone else. You can look down on anyone, but not the younger generation. We, the Sword God sect, are the last among the superior 3 sects, and next time we will take your place. Don't you run away. Why don't we run together? Wen Tao joined the bustle. Zai Tianxing, Han Yunfeng, and others renounced their spots for Zhuo Fan. The people saw for the first time how so many were against Double Dragon Manor's decision. Even the Exalted didn't see it coming. This showed how much charisma Zhuo Fan had. They only met for a few days, yet these 4 great sects disciples were on his side. The Exalted smiled in appreciation. In those days, Sheng only gained recognition through power, but now this kid was truly the best in Western lands. Exalted Hai Ran raised his hand for silence. He spoke calmly, only far more relaxed than before. There's a reason why Zhuo Fan isn't on the 10 best disciples in Western lands. One is Double Dragon Gatherings rule, based on single matches that evaluate your skills. In these matches, Zhuo Fan only fought in the lower 3 sects, so no matter how amazing he is, his points are lacking. Of course, his outstanding display in the last challenge team battle showed otherwise. It's even reasonable to break this rule and have him on the rankings. But what? Everyone asked. Exalted Hai Ran shook his head. The 10 disciples in Western lands is something we decided on, with Zhuo Fan having exceeded our evaluation. In other words, we can't appraise his strength. Just that last strike of his injured his opponent even as I interfered. One can say that even I lost to him, though it is a matter of being careful. Exalted exaggerates. Zhuo Fan immediately cupped his hands. Exalted Hai Ran smiled. It's fine. We both know our own strengths, yet to wound someone with me around is already incredible. That is why we have lost the means to judge you. Ah, youths, you have your pride and beliefs, but so do we. Zhuo Fan didn't make it on the list, not because he's unworthy, but because he's gone beyond it. That is why we decided, for the first time in millennia, to add one more rank to this list. Rank 0, the crownless king, Zhuo Fan. It means no one can grant him a title or reward it to him. As for Sacred Stones, 2,000, the crowd went slack-jawed. Incredulous, the exalted double dragons admitted they couldn't judge a disciple. They even went as far as making a new rank just for him. The kid will definitely grow strong under the care of the 2 exalted. The crowd looked at Zhuo Fan, the future best in Western lands that had been recognized by the exalted, in shock. Wu Qinkyu and the others looked happy, as if Zhuo Fan's glory was only natural. But Zhuo Fan did not care, only making small talk with some just to get closer. As for Xuan Sheiyu, Ren Kong, and others, their faces fell seeing Zhuo Fan look so proud. They all turned to Lu Zai with sharp eyes. Best in Western lands, humph, I'll make sure you never live to reach it. Everyone calm down now. Exalted Bai Mei stood up with a smile. Clearing his voice, Exalted Bai Mei began. The double dragon gathering is over, with all the sects ranks being decided. The disciples may return home. As for the disciples that enter the double dragon manor, we will need some time to debate. I will then send a jade slip to notify each sect leader. You are now free to leave. Boom. Exalted Bai Mei got cut off by a huge explosion, making everything shake. The Exalted cried out, the sacred mine, start the monitoring array and see what's happening. Exalted Hai Ran cried out at the gatekeepers. The 2 elders made the signs and a screen formed to reveal a long mountain range, with an old man with a red nose hovering at the end of it with a dark look. The gulf half a mile around him was there for the audience to see as well. Just what kind of power can cause this destruction? Danking Shen, The Exalted knew on the spot that this guy was challenging them. Senior sister, isn't that the drunkard we met in that small town? Danner pointed at the old man in the air as she asked Shui Ruohua. Shui Ruohua was startled. That's definitely him. Zhuo Fan said he was an unfathomable expert, and we later realized it as well, but I didn't think he'd be this strong. His power must be tyrannical to cause such a huge gulf. Chu Qingcheng nodded as well. Zhuo Fan looked on with a frown. Why go about sneaking in when he's now showing himself? Maybe he got pissed he didn't find the sacred weapon and figured the Exalted screwed him over. So now he drew them out. Since the cover is blown, it is over. But were the Exalted easy targets? You might be the best in Western lands, but that is when it comes to personal strength. Just how much do you have it in you to fight your two former masters? There's strength in numbers. Zhuo Fan frowned. He figured this might happen. The two sides would meet, and after a brief talk, they'd figure out he stole the sacred weapon. Then Danking Shen and the Exalted would come to deal with him. Then again, in this deadly situation, there was still a chance they had some bad blood between them. This would lead to a misunderstanding. They all knew the sacred weapon was strong, and not just anyone could wield it, but who knew the divine eye of the void could control it. This way, the sacred weapon had disappeared into thin air. They would have no choice but to ask each other for clues, because only the three of them could get it while forgetting about him. Next would be fighting it out only to settle nothing in the end. It was his most favorite item of the day. Zhuo Fan hoped his sneaky plan would go as he wished, to have both sides think the sacred weapon was on each other, and not to resolve their issues while fighting, or they would soon suspect him. That's when I'm done for. However, the chances of that happening were highly unlikely, or Danking Shen wouldn't just sneak in. What is he doing there? We clearly sealed the entrance, only leaving this side. Did he enter right under our noses? Exalted Hai Ran took a deep breath and roared in fury. Exalted Bai Mei just frowned in thought. Danking Shen stood before the sacred mine as he shouted at a monitoring array, "Masters, I've come to visit. Won't you see me, Master? He's from the Double Dragon Manor." The audience was stunned at this development. The Exalted felt helpless. Exalted Hai Ran shouted and a white gate appeared in the air. He stepped through it with Exalted Bai Mei right behind him. The audience was even more perplexed. The guy called for his master, so why isn't he showing up? Does he want the Exalted to go there? Wait, does that mean the Exalted had disciples? But we know they only ever had one. The best in Western lands, Danking Shen? Everyone exclaimed. That old man standing in that storm is that strong. Yanmo had already guessed his identity, but hearing him admitting it still came as a shock. He was Danking Shen, and only he dared to say that none of Western lands' 10 sects could stop him. Now he came to see his old masters, the Exalted Double Dragons, the strongest in Western lands. He did not come for a social visit, though. A battle was about to break out. Seeing the three strongest in Western lands fight makes this trip all the more worthwhile, ha ha ha. Yanmo was shaking in excitement. Shui Ruohua was dumbstruck. The girls knew the old man was beyond them, but they never thought he was that formidable. Yet these ignorant lasses actually tied up this monster. If not for Zhuo Fan stopping these fools, they might have done something they'd regret. Shui Ruohua realized that their being alive was all thanks to Zhuo Fan. All the girls looked gratefully at Zhuo Fan, only to see him calmly watching the screen. Whoosh, the Exalted appeared before Danking Shen and looked at the deep gulf beneath him with a dark look. "Shang, is this how you welcome us?" Exalted Hai Ran squinted. Danking Shen looked over at him, then bowed before the two. "Greetings, masters. If you still see me as a disciple. Humph, you caused such a mess back then and have been cast out of Double Dragon Manor. You've since stopped being our disciple." Exalted Hai Ran flicked his sleeve as he huffed. Danking Shen's face twitched and said, "If that's the case, why then did you accept my greeting? A day a master, a father for life. Did we not teach you, even if we don't see you as a disciple, you don't see us as masters? You won't greet us upon meeting us. Humph, you've become worse, I see." Exalted Hai Ran replied, Danking Shen groaned inside. "Master Hai Ran, you're the same as always, still so shameless. You dare talk to your master like that, as if you're any better. Yes, I'm nothing to look at, but isn't that what my master taught me? With your shameless style, I got half of your so-called integrity. That's called rubbing off on me, ha ha ha." Danking Shen mocked. Exalted Hai Ran rolled his eyes and ignored him. He actually felt better hearing this, being brought back to those days as he taught this kid. Exalted Bai Mei knew his thoughts and smiled, then turned serious. "Sheng, what are you doing here?" "What do you want?" "I broke in to take back my sword." "Sword?" Exalted Bai Mei exclaimed. "The Atlas sword? It's no longer yours. Why should we return it?" "Of course it's mine," you agreed. "On the day I can beat the both of you, I have the right to inherit it. That is a promise we made to our disciple, which you no longer are." Exalted Hai Ran snorted. Danking Shen smiled and shrugged. "No matter, I'll be taking that sword today." no matter how much it costs. I didn't want to fight with masters, planning on taking it and leaving, but since you found out, we can only go by the old agreement. No matter if it's 1 or 2, I'll beat you both and take that sword. You sure can talk. Don't think you can defeat us just because you got to stab me with a sword when you were banished. Exalted Double Dragon shouted, in a single battle, you are the best in Western lands, but don't forget we two never separate. You still have a long way to go to be the best. Danking Shen was angry as he gnashed his teeth. It doesn't matter, we'll know once we fight. His entire aura exploded. The sky dimmed as sword waves covered the heavens and cut everything they touched. The world was breaking apart before he even attacked. Everyone cried out. They would all be wiped out in an instant if that happened here. The best in Western lands. Zhuo Fan shouted, the peak of mortal domain, Genesis stage. Above the soul harmony stage was returning to one's ancestry, the Genesis stage. When the soul made a link with the world's power, one could truly destroy this land. It was without a doubt the strongest in the mortal domain, and this stage was where one broke the shackles of mortality to enter Spirit King stage. Only that kind of cultivator had the right to roam the sacred domain. Danking Shen's surge of power covered the entire realm as it shook under it. The biting winds brushed past the exalted double dragons, forcing them to become grave as they faced this power. Hundreds of years had passed, and Danking Shen, of course, had grown in power, so much so that they were having doubts of fighting him together. The people looked tense and a bit excited even at the screen, showing a scene that could only be described as a prelude to total destruction. 3 Genesis stage experts were about to fight. This was a once-in-a-blue-moon fight. Shang, before we fight, I want to ask you something. Exalted Bai Mei began. Danking Shen grumbled something before finally saying, say it. After all these years, why did you come for the sword now? Did you meet someone strong, or do you just want to rule some place? Give me a reason. Exalted Hai Ran looked straight at him, waiting for an answer as well. Danking Shen squinted and said, must I say it? It's fine either way, since you're no longer our disciple. You have no reason to explain yourself to us. Exalted Bai Mei spoke coldly. Exalted Hai Ran stared hard at Danking Shen. We must have taught you that regardless of what you do, you should always have a reason for doing it, even if it's wrong. That way, you at least won't feel lost. As the Exalted spoke, Danking Shen felt he was in a particular mood. They were clearly asking Danking Shen if he still saw them as masters at his very core. They were testing his intentions for taking the sword and whether he was worthy of inheriting it. Danking Shen took a deep breath as he pondered. To be honest, 3 years later, I will have a life and death fight with the old freak from the central area. I'm sure that if I have the help of Western Land's treasure, the Atlas Sword, I will win. Central Area's Sword Star Empire's invincible sword. Exalted Bai Mei gasped in disbelief. How did you end up messing with him? You're even having a life and death battle? Are you crazy? Exalted Hai Ran shook all over, his fists clenched tight as he cursed. Rotten brat, you must be so damn cocky to think that being called the best in Western lands means you're the king of the world. You think that that freak is someone you can toy with? Why do you think 4 areas joined hands to resist the central area yet were still at a disadvantage? Danking Shen only took a long breath and made up his mind. Exalted Bai Mei saw his determination and asked, Shang, you're not impulsive and should know when to step back. Why? A man's gotta do what a man's gotta do. Danking Shen held his head high as he sighed. What was it that I told Exalted before I left the Western lands? That I had finally found my path. The two nodded, peace on this world. Yes, that is my path, that is her path. Danking Shen's eyes flashed. It was both of our hopes to create a better world. Ever since she died, I have gone crazy and I have fallen into despair. But then I thought to myself, rather than go mad from the pain and hatred, it'd be better to achieve this dream she wanted to see. That's why for the past centuries I have created such a place, a paradise between areas. Alas, nothing good lasts forever. My strength keeps all those petty thieves away, but I have been in constant conflict with the Central Area's Sword Star Empire's expansion, always wanting to wage war. I used to think that no matter how strong it was, my slice of heaven was insignificant, that they would at least talk with me on account of being a Genesis stage expert. Yet I did not expect that old freak to come straight for me and make a bet. If I lose, my land will be razed to the ground. Hundreds of years gone. The Exalted picked up on his problem and said, and the old monster is coming for you still. Ha ha ha, that's right, masters are the wisest. Danking Shen sighed, my place is only the size of a small empire. It has no riches and no grudge with anyone. How could happy normal people incite the wrath of others? How could they get the great Sword Star Empire to come after them, unless that old bag of bones? Danking Shen's voice trailed off, switching to sending words instead. The Exalted sported an astonished look. Danking Shen sighed, the old guy has been in seclusion for hundreds of years, and now that he came out and is far stronger, he wants to go big. The four lands are in danger and I hope masters will be ready. With fortune, I saw that this time's double dragon gathering has some good seeds that might give the western lands some hope. The Exalted nodded and sighed, but then Exalted High Ran raised an eyebrow. I just don't know if I should give you the sword or not anymore. Ha ha ha, yeah, it's quite the conundrum. Without the sword, I'll lose for sure, but if you do give it to me, maybe it will become the weapon by which the western lands would run with blood. I'd be just as conflicted by this if I were masters. Danking Shen chuckled, then his power exploded once more. Since that's the case, just like the old agreement, strength will determine the victor. The Exalted nodded and said, strength it is. The two Exalted were showing off their strength as well, their dragon power tracing the lands and skies as it clashed with Danking Shen's fierce sword waves. With loud noises, the space began to shake from the impact, about to crack under their power. The audience watched agape. Are these the strongest experts in the world? This is outstanding. If they fight, the world might be ruined. This was what everyone thought, even if exaggerated. They knew a saying, the top of mortal domain are like gods. Only Zhuo Fan eased a breath, fight, don't talk. And don't solve the riddle of the sacred weapon. Though it was too soon to celebrate, it all came down to how they fought and if they would settle this problem instead. So Zhuo Fan's eyes were fixed on the fight. Double dragon art, double dragon emergence. The exalted double dragons met their palms and shouted. Black and white powers came out as they spun on each other, just like a yin-yang symbol. The world was filled with a majestic power as it gathered around them in the form of a black and white roaring dragon. They then pushed out their palms and unleashed the dragon upon Danking Shen. The mighty force kept pushing him back. Danking Shen pointed his finger at the skies and a draconic roar sounded. A dragon revolved high above around his finger, as if it was climbing the heavens. The immense sword energy had reached its peak and gathered on his finger, forming an illusory atlas sword. The huge dragon roamed on this sword as it kept roaring. Under all of this immense power, the skies, the earth, everything was constantly shaking. Dragon-cleaving art. Danking Shen shouted and brought his sword down upon the black and white dragon. The explosion from the impact was monumental. The skies dimmed, while the land around the sacred mine was leveled and barren. It went on for hundreds of miles, leaving in its wake an apocalypse. The crowd was overwhelmed. Just one blow from a Genesis stage expert unleashed such deadly power. Zhuo Fan and Yi Lin's fight was astonishing in its own right, but not as frightening as this. They still had a way to go before they could burn the world to cinders. Everyone paled after seeing such might for the first time. No wonder Danking Shen could come and go in the western lands 10 secs as he wished. One snap of his fingers can erase a sect. The two great powers clashed and released constant explosions as they were in deadlock. Even so, the powers slowly weakened as time passed. With a crack, Danking Shen's sword soon vanished, while the exalted double dragon's black and white dragon crumbled away. Yet just as the attacks collapsed, a trace of power zipped between sides. PFF, a powerful dragon force hit Danking Shen in the chest, making him groan and forcing him back as he spat blood. Whoosh. While two sharp sword waves whistled into the exalted. Unable to react, the waves passed through the exalted's shoulders and left two red lines. As masters and disciple fought, it ended up with both sides suffering and neither getting the upper hand. The crowd was astounded. Danking Shen was the best in Western lands for a reason. Now 2 against 1 and against his old masters, he still fought to a draw. This, however, left the three feeling complicated. Exalted High Ran glanced at his shoulder and sighed, Shen, just leave. Old Timer, exalted by Mei, looked at them, then at the sacred mine having lost its familiar feel and sighed. Danking Shen's eyes shook. He wiped his mouth and looked at the imprint in his chest. He could feel his innards close to boiling as he sighed. He and the exalted would only end up hurting each other. He could not defeat them, thus he could not take the sword. The exalted are still thinking of Western lands peace, ha ha ha. Danking Shen shook his head, giving a deep bow to the exalted double dragons before vanishing. Seeing him leave, exalted double dragon frowned. Old Timer, will you just let him take the sword? With no trace of it coming from the cave, that means he must have it. He made a big ruckus and called us out just to prove that he could take the sword openly. However, even if he loses, I don't think he'll leave the sword behind. Exalted High Ran shook his head and looked at his wound. 2 against 1 yet were evenly matched. If he had taken out the sword, we'd have lost. Why didn't he? Exalted by Mei was worried. Old Timer, you're right. We had planned on giving him the sword, but just like he said, that old freak from the central area is on the move. If we don't have the land's treasure, what comes will. So what if we had it? Won't the old freak have one as well? Exalted High Ran shook his head. When the old freak takes the central area's divine sword over to us, we'll still be of no match. It's better if we give it to Sheng, letting him fight for his beliefs. We'll have no regrets regardless of the outcome, since he's already stronger than us. Exalted by Mei sighed as he agreed. Yeah, last time we didn't protect his beliefs and forced him to leave. At least now we can make amends by letting him take the sword. We sealed the entrance at the heaven-reaching pavilion, yet never believed he would come out in the open and take the sword like this. Ha ha ha, what does it have to do with that old freak from the central area anyway? He just took it and left. Exalted by Mei seemed to have accepted this truth but then frowned. But how on earth did he sneak in? Did he really slip in under our noses? Ha ha ha, he took the sword, so what difference does it make? Exalted High Ran vanished. We need to get in touch with the other 3 lands experts. Get ready for that old freak. Exalted by Mei raised an eyebrow and nodded, vanishing as well. Unfortunately, neither Danking Shen nor Exalted Double Dragons figured out that it was just one giant misunderstanding. The Exalted Double Dragons thought they lost, so they left Danking Shen thinking he already had the sword. But Danking Shen always thought the Exalted knew he came here, so they took the sword on purpose, keeping it with them. Adding to that the draw, Exalted High Ran let him leave, making him think this was their way of driving him away. Since he couldn't beat him, he wouldn't get the sword. That was why he left sadly. Thus, the prized Atlas sword of the Western lands became an enigma. Danking Shen thought it was with the Exalted, while the Exalted thought he had it. They were both wrong though, as it was on Zhuo Fan all along. When the Exalted returned, they had the crowd disperse. Looking back at the screen, Zhuo Fan sighed. The misunderstanding took hold between them, and I am left getting away with it. Danking Shen was still oblivious he'd been made the scapegoat. Nothing but the lack of communication, Zhuo Fan sighed inside. Even though the 2 sides were master and disciple, since they broke it off, meeting again was a tense experience. The trio had to stick their pride out as well, so of course they ignored the trifles, leaving simple communication out of the equation. It was the perfect setup for a big misunderstanding, what Zhuo Fan had hoped all along. If Danking Shen had heard Exalted High Ran's words after he left, he would have asked more about the sword and Zhuo Fan's plan would have unraveled. While it wouldn't happen on the spot, the doubt in Danking Shen would grow and would find him out sooner or later. A shame this expert is too prideful, too nice. Not winning meant he had no right to get the sword. Danking Shen thought so and admitted defeat, leaving without a word. Ha ha ha, this way I can move about without a care. Zhuo Fan snickered inside as he stuck his chin out. The fiends found it odd. What's got you so perky all of a sudden? Being the top middle 3 sect isn't a cause for celebration. Ha ha ha, Zhuo Fan quirked an eyebrow. Fiend Yang looked lost, but Exalted already announced our spot. How come you're happy only now? I just came to. Zhuo Fan's eyes darted all over as he smiled. Fiend Yang's eye twitched and rolled his eyes. This guy is being weird again. It's been said for an hour now and you're just reacting. There's no way he's happy over that, but if he doesn't want to say it, whatever. The guys shrugged, then shook their heads. Sometimes Steward Zhuo was just plain weird and sometimes mysterious. They helped Zhuo Fan to get back to his room, planning on leaving once he recovered. They had completed the Double Dragon Gathering mission and would be rewarded once they got back to the sect. The fiends couldn't wait to break the news back home. Zhuo Fan, get better while I settle the details with others about our bragging speech once we get home, ha ha ha. Fiend Yang closed the door and laughed. Zhuo Fan merely smiled. The instant he was alone, he heard someone, "Kid, you'd best leave as well in a few days. I find it hard to leave you even though we met for a few days." Zhuo Fan jerked in fright. He wiped his head around to see Danking Shen disappointed and drowning his sorrow with wine. Senior, what are you doing back here? Zhuo Fan's heart skipped a beat and gulped as he forced a smile. He didn't find out anything, right? Zhuo Fan was worried the old guy might have spotted something that gave him away. Danking Shen watched him through drunken eyes and sighed. I failed in the end. The Exalted were on guard and took the sword. I could not take it. That can't be. I saw Senior wounding the Exalted. Who else in Western lands but Senior is fit to have that sword? He gave him a thumbs up in good flattery while being on guard as to why Danking Shen was back here again. Danking Shen smiled through hazy eyes as he cursed, "Rotten brat, enough of your flattery. A loss or a draw is still a loss, thus not worthy of the sacred sword. This will make matters so much worse in the next fight. Senior has another battle?" Zhuo Fan probed. Danking Shen nodded. The strongest in the central area, invincible sword. Lasting 10 moves would be a feat in itself. Senior is so strong, but can't handle 10 of his moves. Just how strong is he? Zhuo Fan was astounded. Are the best in Western lands and the best in the central area so far apart? Danking Shen sighed and took a large gulp of wine. Kid, you're too green, young, and cocky. But remember this, there's always someone stronger out there. What can the best in Western lands amount to when in the central area? He wouldn't even be in the top 10 experts. What? Zhuo Fan was shocked, not because of Danking Shen's disparity compared to the central area, but of the gap between areas. Zhuo Fan had been a demonic emperor from the sacred domain. There was hardly any expert he hadn't seen. Yet the sharp difference in power on the same continent left him stunned. It was like a 3-year-old holding huge wealth only to have a towering thug for a neighbor. Who'd ever feel safe? He would have been robbed blind ages ago. But why is the central area so strong? Danking Shen saw through him and mocked. Of the entire continent, only the central area differs from the other 4. Do you know why? Zhuo Fan showed he didn't. It's their structure. Danking Shen turned serious. The 4 lands are governed by sects with hundreds of empires serving them. This makes them a loose force. Since when it comes to waging war, it's still the empires that are stronger. When did you ever hear sects going to war? Zhuo Fan nodded as he contemplated. Danking Shen continued. Here's where the central area is different. There's an old monster there and a huge empire, Sword Star Empire. Invincible Sword, its ancestor, had founded the empire 10,000 years ago. He's not only strong, but even swallowed all the nations and sects around him until he achieved this form, an area ruled entirely by one empire. An entire area with just one empire? Zhuo Fan was shocked. Now he knew why the central area was so strong. With just a sole empire, its development was much sharper than many conflicting empires. The fact that it was a single empire was an amazing feat by itself. The other 4 lands weren't like this at all. While all wanted to achieve it, they had no one to take the lead. Take Western lands, for example. Exalted double dragons were tough, but they were just cultivators and lacked vision and a calculating mind. Danking Shen gave him a long look and patted his shoulder. Kid, I can tell you are a man of ambition and even a trace of that old freak's nature. Lead your heroes, take your turf, but you best hurry it up and get stronger too. Central area is on the move. It will still take some time, but you're way too young, you're just out of time. You mean that the central area's action has nothing to do with me? Zhuo Fan started. Danking Shen smirked. That old freak took thousands of years to get his tiny empire to rule the entire central area. Now he's set his eyes on the world. Everyone is involved in this, you included. Even if you hide, can those girls hide as well? Can their empire Tianyu hide? Ha ha ha, the future of Western lands is yours. As a Western lands man, maybe the future will be your opponent's. But now I hope you'll get ready and not regret what comes. Danking Shen stood up and bent his waist, about to leave. I best be going now. I've wasted enough time on a kid. I just hope the Western lands youths will grow. It will be up to fate if you'll get over this calamity. Zhuo Fan's heart sank. He just wanted to focus on cultivating and get back to sacred domain. But Danking Shen just said that chaos would soon envelop the 5 lands. He didn't care much since he was a lone wolf. No one would find him if he wanted to hide. It was another matter for the Luo clan. It would be hard to not get dragged into this mess. Maybe I should get some things ready just in case. Then I'll leave in peace. Zhuo Fan was deep in thought as Danking Shen was fading away, yet he did say one last thing. By the way, kid, you better take care of that girl. Treasure your people. Oh, please, I'm a demon. Why would I care about some girl? Knowing who Danking Shen was speaking of, Zhuo Fan blushed. Ha ha ha, what does being demonic or righteous have to do with it? You're just one man, better not live to regret it later. Danking Shen vanished at long last. Zhuo Fan rolled his eyes, yet he now had more to worry about. It'll be hard to meet again after the double dragon gathering, just that my path. Zhuo Fan closed his eyes. 3 days later, Zhuo Fan was in his room cultivating, his wounds halfway to being healed. It was around this time the sect teams were leaving. Demon Soul Sect and Sword God Sect had come to say goodbye to Zhuo Fan, wishing him a quick recovery. Zhuo Fan nodded with a smile. It looks to me we're practically relatives with these sects. It'll be up to Kui Lang and the others now on how they cherish their allies. He could now return to the Luo clan at ease. Zhuo Fan, Shuinger and I are returning to Tianyu. When will you leave? Zhuo Fan opened his door to find that it was Yangning. Zhuo Fan frowned. I've yet to recover and I still need around 10 days before I leave at ease. At ease, who is after you? Yangning started. Zhuo Fan smiled. I don't know since I've got many enemies. Better to be safe than sorry. The 2 girls nodded. Zhuo Fan did gain plenty of enemies this time and should be ready just in case. It wouldn't do to let the enemy make use of his wounded state. Then we will go on ahead. The girls waved with a smile, their eyes shining brightly. Zhuo Fan found it odd and pondered. Aren't you 2 girls afraid of going back to Tianyu alone? Why don't you wait a few days and we'll go together? Really? Yangning perked up. Shuinger pulled her clothes, then she came to and smiled. It's fine. Going back with Sister King Cheng, we'll be talking about plenty of girl stuff. Like how to figure out your mind, win your favor. MMHMM. A blushing Shuinger rushed to cover her mouth. Is Mystical Heaven Sect leaving as well? Zhuo Fan frowned after hearing her. Danking Shen's words came to him, and so he stood up to leave. The 2 hurried after him. They soon arrived at Mystical Heaven Sect's place. The disciples were gathered around, ready to leave. Shui Ruohua noticed him, and all the girls turned to Chu King Cheng. Sister King Cheng, he's here. Danner got Chu King Cheng's attention. Shaking a little, Chu Qingcheng turned around to meet Zhuo Fan's cold eyes. She smiled and walked closer. How are you feeling? Much better. Why only ask now? Isn't it a little late? Ha ha ha, doesn't Steward Zhu dislike chatter, always being alone? How come you're blaming me for not seeing you? Chu Qingcheng teased. Zhuo Fan looked deep into Chu Qingcheng's eyes. Give me half a year and I'll give you an answer for back then. Zhuo Fan then left, but Chu Qingcheng was stunned. She then smiled, her eyes filled with tears of joy. Turning around, she floated back to her team like a butterfly. The others were stumped at their icy teammate being lively and having a bright smile. What did that guy say? Sister Qingcheng, what's wrong? Danner hesitated. Chu Qingcheng beamed with joy. He said he'll give me an answer. He finally faltered. The others were lost. What does that mean? That was something only Chu Qingcheng knew. It was a question she asked Zhuo Fan a long time ago. Xu and Sheiyu looked on with cold eyes and clenched fists. Half a year, is it perfect? 10 days later, Zhuo Fan opened his door to take a deep breath of fresh air. He was in a better mood now that his wounds were healed. What awaited him outside was his team, the 9 disciples and 3 fiends of demon scheming sect. They had always been waiting for Zhuo Fan to get better and get home. These days, the other sects had already gone, leaving them behind. They came last and now they were leaving last, though the mood was completely different. They were no longer tense but jubilant. Zhuo Fan, you're the only one left. Can we go now? Fiend Yang grinned at Zhuo Fan. I've sent the sect a sending jade already, saying that we'll get back in 2 months, but I have yet to give them the good news. Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow and noticed Fiend Yang's rotten smile. You'll be making them sick with worry. Ha ha ha, that'll make things more interesting. While we risked our lives here, they'd just been casually waiting for the news. That's too easy for them. Fiend Yang winked at Zhuo Fan. You're going to leave anyway. You should use this chance to get back at those old fools now while you still can. Besides, once we sent them the great news, their towering fury would just fizzle out, right? The others laughed along. Zhuo Fan shrugged. Fine, I'm leaving anyway, so I'll just take this burden. Take it as my prank. Ha ha ha, wonderful, that's our great steward. Fiend Yang patted his shoulder and the others nodded with soft eyes. They knew their days with Zhuo Fan were running out. Zhuo Fan, are you leaving the demon scheming sect? A girl cried out. Zhuo Fan turned to see Yangning, who suddenly looked at him in shock. Where are you going? You better give us a clear location or we won't be able to find you. Zhuo Fan's eyes softened. You don't have to look for me. Once I finish reporting to the demon scheming sect, I'll be going home to Tianyu. Really? The girls cheered. Zhuo Fan nodded. Of course, why else did you think I asked you to wait? Forget mystical heaven sect and come with us. Once I finish over at the sect, we'll be going home together so you won't meet any trouble on the way. The girls bobbed their heads in elation. With Zhuo Fan back in the Luo clan, the girls would no longer have to suffer the bitter loneliness of being so far apart, but the fact that Chu Qingcheng couldn't come along made them sad. No one else knew Zhuo Fan better than her. Even though they were love rivals, for her not to be around Zhuo Fan, they thought it was a great loss. Actually, Chu Qingcheng's graceful stance had moved the girls. If they could all go together, it would be so much better. Now let's set off, Zhuo Fan shouted, breaking their thoughts. Seeing them all go, the girls caught up. But then Shuinger stalled and her eyes turned black as they reflected the starry sky. Her heart throbbed in her chest and she was gasping for breath. What's wrong, Shuinger? Yangning started in worry. Zhuo Fan frowned, coming over. What happened? I don't know, my heart suddenly became frantic. I'm better now. Shuinger looked lost as she shook her head. She felt a sudden danger as if someone was coming for her, but then the feeling went away as quick as it came. Zhuo Fan looked around the area with a careful gaze before setting his mind at ease. It must be that Shuinger is unwell. Once we return, she'll be getting better. And so, they left the Double Dragon Manor, unaware that Shuinger's frantic heart was an omen of the future. Bam! In a forest, a rock covered in moss was pulverized. The sun's bright rays shone down deep in the dark and humid cave, long hidden from the world. 2 panting figures stood before it in joy. Second Prince, we finally found the Yun clan ancestral home. Ha ha ha. A mere profound heaven expert, wearing all black, looked at the other in glee. Grinning, the youth nodded, clenching the yellow silk tight in his hand. So many years and now, we finally found this accursed place. Big brother, imperial father, once I crack the Yun clan ancestral home's secret, I will find the best in western lands and will return the lands to the Yuan clan. I will avenge you, and you old third dishonorable pig, your days are at an end. Ha ha ha, the youth cackled like mad, his eyes consumed by hatred. The guy in black sighed, nodding to himself. The lies Crown Prince weaved had the second prince seek revenge rather than instruct us. He was truly wise. Only hatred can make one seek revenge. These men were Crown Prince's men. They had no feud with the imperial family or Yuan Kong. After the Crown Prince's death, all of his loyal men were wanted across the nation. scurrying like rats for so many years had worn the fight out of them. That went double for those who went with the second prince after the Yun clan ancestral home. After the bitter life they had been through the past years, it proved to be too much for most as they left one by one, leaving him all alone. Even so, even he had to beat a hasty retreat against some of the dangers they faced. Now, thanks to the crown prince beguiling Yuan Yang into exacting revenge, with his help, they finally arrived. This was just another proof of how hatred could drive a person to no end. If it was their mission, they would have long abandoned it. Only the second prince persevered to restore the empire without fail. The guy in black even found himself admiring the second prince, though the clueless royalty was being played like a puppet on a string. Looking ahead, the guy in black took the lead. "Your Highness, I'll be scouting ahead." "Stay behind me and be careful." "Thank you, Hai Ying," second prince nodded. After years of toil, the second prince finally shed his overconfidence as an imperial prince, finally showing respect to the wise. The guy in black was touched. "Your Highness, you're too kind. It's my duty." "You're too humble. Hai Ying, without you, I would have never reached here." Being close all their journey, the second prince sighed, "To find the Yun clan ancestral home, we've been through so much danger and lost our way more times than I can count. We have even been trapped again and again. In the end, how many died, how many are left? Now I am alone, with you as my sole companion to share life and death with. From now on, you are my brother." The guy in black shook, touched to the core. He never imagined that the second prince they were ordered to use as a pawn would treat him so. He felt ashamed. He wanted to spill the beans about everything and not let his highness suffer for another's revenge. Everyone had a heart, even the crown prince's die-hard followers. Having spent so many years with the second prince, he had a change of heart. He couldn't bear to see his new master being hurt for following this stupid hatred. But that would mean the crown prince's final wish. "Your Highness, actually," Hai Ying was conflicted, frowning as he wanted to say something. In his moment of carelessness, he stepped onto something and fell, plop. In the darkness, Hai Ying suddenly vanished and the second prince cried out, "Hai Ying!" What followed was him falling as well, and beneath him was nothing but utter blackness, a dark hole swallowing him whole. As that two sharp yells broke the silent darkness, yet only their own ears could hear them. Second prince and Hai Ying then looked around, but beyond the eternal darkness there was only more black. "Hai Ying, can you fly out?" second prince asked. He shook his head, filled with dread. "No, this cave is just weird, preventing me, a profound heaven expert, from flying, yet we're still falling." "Just when will we reach the end?" "We're finished. With such a deep cave, once we hit the ground we'll be plastered. My life will return to the heavens." Second prince wailed, filled with resentment. He hadn't gotten revenge yet. How could he die just like that? Hai Ying sighed, biting back the words that threatened to come out. Though he would die having never fulfilled his revenge, it was a notch better to die for one's ideal. While telling him the truth would mean saying he was a pawn in the hand of a dead crown prince for years, now that would be even more devastating. Letting him go in peace is better. He's been bitter enough these past years already. Hai Ying sighed, "Your Highness, you've spared no effort these years. Your Highness and Crown Prince know your devotion and will rest in the underworld." How can he rest? "The nation isn't a nation. Yuan clan's lands are in the hands of another and I couldn't do anything. Imperial father, big brother, they'll never know rest." Second prince started shedding tears. "It's because I'm too weak to get back the ancestors' lands. It's I who failed in earning imperial father and big brother's deep love." Second prince sobbed, making Hai Ying shake his head as he waited to meet his doom. This was the only way to repay his two masters' care. However, there was an odd sound and the two suddenly slowed down before finding themselves afloat in pitch blackness. The two were stunned and looked around. "I am one of the 10 ancient emperors, Emperor Yun's remnant, sent by her to guard my clan. Are you the sons of my clan coming to pay your respects?" A deafening voice rocked their ears, threatening to blow their eardrums. A white image hundreds of meters wide appeared. He looked like an aged immortal with power and wisdom. He had silvery flowing hair, a white beard, and a deep and profound aura. The entire void was filled with glittering stars the next second, flowing in a mystical pattern. The two stared agape at the display. Who's he? He's like a god walking on this world, holding everything in his palm. He can't just be a damn human. Skipping over Zhuo Fan, have they ever seen someone so awesome anywhere on this continent? Even Danking Shen couldn't hold a candle to this guy. Yun clan's ancestral home hid such an astonishing expert. I can't frickin' believe it. Emperor Yun frowned. If you are my descendants, you may take refuge with me from any difficulty. If not, trespassers shall be forever buried in my clan's forbidden land to atone for your crimes. What? The two cried out. Only Yun clansmen could come here if they wanted to live. The two were frantic, with the second prince having no shame as he said, Ancestor, I'm from the Yun clan, I'm Yun Yang. Hai Ying's face twitched and he sighed. This guy changes tunes too fast, he even renounced his name. Then again, being chased for so many years, he lost his arrogance as a prince. All he ever cares about is survival, even using a sharp tongue. Ancestor, I'm also from the Yun clan. I'm Yun Ying. Hai Ying cupped his hands. Emperor Yun mocked, it doesn't matter if you say you are. I will be the judge of that. Emperor Yun's eyes shot prismatic lights as it scanned the two. Humph, my Yun clan have mystic eyes that can read the heavens. Yours are normal and you think you can pretend to be of my clan. After the scan was over, Emperor Yun snorted, common fools die for trespassing in the Yun clan's forbidden grounds. The pitch-black world began to burn as stars started falling on the two. Thousands of city-wide bright lights were coming down on them at full force. With so many coming to plaster them, there was no way two puny profound heaven experts could take it, not when even ethereal stage experts would have a hard time. The two panicked in fear. Fortunately, the thick and impenetrable-skinned second prince grew over these torturous years in search for revenge was finally put to good use. Wait, we are just Yun clan's average clansmen. Only the clan head has awakened those eyes. Humph, wrong, not just the Yun clan head is able to awaken them. Only a Yun clansman who does is a true Yun clansman. Emperor Yun spat, my blood allows the awakening of a single person in every generation of my clan. That is my successor. Everyone else, even if from the Yun clan, is a stranger. Don't you know that only the clan head can come here? Even as Yun clansmen, you only came to your deaths. Emperor Yun finished just as the incoming starfall was about to pulverize the two home invaders. Second prince gnashed his teeth and his eyes flashed. He took out Yun Xuanji's eye and said, we've come out of clan head's final wish. This is our proof. Whoosh, the stars halted and soon vanished. Hai Ying closed his eyes and shivered. Second prince's hands shook as well, waiting to be erased from this world. However, death did not come. He watched as a pair of eyes stared down at the orb in his hand. It's the mystic eye of my Yun clan. But since it's just proof, I can only agree to one request. One, startled, the two were jubilant. They turned it all around. Emperor Yun switched from being their greatest enemy to their strongest backer. That was just too sudden. Didn't he doubt where this eye came from, though it worked in their favor? Why look for some danking Shen when we have this guy to raise the world? So the second prince bowed and whined, Ancestor, my empire has been taken by an evil spawn. I hope Ancestor will set things right, help you restore the nation. Emperor Yun quirked an eyebrow. Second prince bobbed his head and the emperor shook his, denied. Why, didn't you say you'll agree to one request? With your power, this will be as easy as breathing. Second prince complained. Emperor Yun said, I told you, I am Emperor Yun's remnant left by her to protect our clan and show it the path forward. I cannot leave, thus I cannot help you. What can you do then? Second prince was annoyed and shouted. Hai Ying jerked and hurriedly pulled his hand. Master, don't get carried away. He can't leave, but we're here stuck with him. He's the boss and you better not anger him. It'll be so easy to kill us like squashing bugs. Second prince finally came to his senses and cupped his hands. Forgive me, Ancestor, I got carried away. I just want to know how you could help us. Read the heavens and show you the way. Ask your questions and I shall answer all I can. Emperor Yun's heavy words fell.